Welcome to the 5th episode of the 2nd season of the Knights of Everflame. I'm Jason Bulmahn, your host and GM for this adventure. Is everybody ready to play?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
After the last session, I would hope so. All right, let's get started. When we last left our intrepid band of adventurers, you, the Knights of Everflame, were in the town of Kenwright, preparing to go to an art gala. Sounds like a pleasant experience, but it would turn out to be nothing of the sort. Based on the sponsorship of Lady Woodland, the group of you had managed to get tickets to the Lastwall Gala, an event being hosted by one Lucent Longfinger, or as you know him, Lucky Longfinger. You arrived at this gala to find it to be a sideshow of horror, filled with kind of ghoulish auctions of art from Lastwall, and worse still, the back room was filled with actual undead that were being auctioned off as pieces of art. Suffice to say, the entire scene kind of went sideways at this moment. Lucky was there, you challenged him, but before you could get your hands on him, he walked up to a mirror, tapped it, it turned to liquid, he stepped through into a darkened warehouse, and vanished, shattering the mirror as he went, whistling and waving to you. You had no choice but to try and find a way to follow him. The only clue you had is that he appeared to go into a darkened warehouse, and out the window of this warehouse, you could see a lighthouse with 2 rotating lights in it. This is a lighthouse that was familiar to you. It was the lighthouse at the docks in Kenwright. You managed to sneak out of the gala before the guards arrived, after summoning Tariel's, betrothed? I don't know that we should call him fiancé. You haven't agreed. Suitor. Suitor's a good way to refer to him. Anyway, the giant meat slab of a man came in and secured the situation while the Lord General went and summoned the guard. You took this as your cue to make a hasty exit before the Kenwright justice system locked the entire place down, and you spent the entire night in a cell answering questions about what just happened. There would be time for that, but not before you found Lucky. You raced down to the docks using Mr. Dempley, your driver, who brought you in a carriage down to the docks of Kenwright. You thought long and hard about the vision that you saw, and immediately cast off to the east to try and find the warehouse. But after searching around there and having nothing match up, you suddenly realized that you were looking through a mirror. And everything was reversed. You rushed to the west side instead, and found the warehouse that matched the vision that you saw through the mirror. There was a front door, there were side doors, there were windows. You decided to split up and enter the building from multiple different avenues to ensure that Lucky didn't get out this time. Venturing into the place, some of you breaking into the front door, some through the side door, you dealt with some traps. There was a blast of lightning in one, there was a scythe trap on the other that you didn't set off, and you made your way into this warehouse, only to be confronted by maimed and mutilated dock workers whose lips were sewn shut, and whose body was covered in ritual scarification. You fought them. They attacked you with long, curving kukris, these deadly-looking blades. And they were fierce combatants, but you managed to defeat them, despite the fact that they almost seemed to enjoy being hurt. After cutting your way through these dock workers, one of them ripped the stitches out of his mouth and started screaming that Lord Longfinger would have his revenge upon you. You made your way deeper into the warehouse, this time splitting up even further to try and cover more ground. Things got real confusing real quick. Linnaeus saw a strange shadowy form that beckoned to her and called out to her as if it knew her. She ran off into the darkness. Omelette began climbing up and over crates, looking around for things, and stumbled upon an axe that seemed to be a relatively recent arrival, unlike everything else here that's kind of covered in dust. This looks relatively new. And grabbed this weapon and realized that it was a powerful, powerful axe and brought it with her. The rest of you found, Liz and Tariel found a flayed guardsman who probably had the misfortune of accidentally stumbling upon this plan or this place and was tortured near unto death, his skin pulled from his body in long ribbons. You put him out of his misery. There was no coming back from that. But deadliest of all, Iculus wandered in the darkness, trying to find Linnaeus, who the two of them had gotten separated in the dark. Making his way through the darkened warehouse, he found a kind of grim gallery. Additional paintings. These not of Lastwall, each one depicting an assassination. An artist, a poet, a performer, a writer, all brutally murdered. All with different daggers that all shared one similarity. At the end of the dagger, hanging off the pommel of each one of these daggers in each painting, is a single link of chain. Just one. Just attached to the pommel. Reaching the end of this gallery, Iculus saw a painting of his father being stabbed through the heart. It was then that you heard Lucky call out from the darkness, "Do you like my work?" And he dove off the crates to attack. A poisoned dagger aimed right for your heart. This one bearing a chain link, just like all of the other daggers that you saw. The battle was fierce. He was outmatching you. He was slicing and cutting you and dodging your attacks. Your friends racing to your aid. They managed to get there just in time. He was cutting you to pieces, and your friends, the knights, they came and joined you and joined the battle. Lucky took many hits and began laughing as each one that he took, taunting you the whole way. He said rather horrible things, hurtful things, that you were worthless, that you were... Is that all you got? Is that the best that you have? He said, "I'm going to send you to see your father soon." And he said, "Oh, that's right. You won't get to meet him anytime soon." In the end, you dealt him grievous wounds, and he dropped his daggers to the floor and looked at you with a laugh. "I give up. I give up," he said. "What are you going to do? Kill me? If you do that, you'll never find out what happened to your father's soul." He laughed. He chuckled. He laughed in your face as blood poured down his chin, and he began to choke. And quite suddenly, his chest split open, and chains began to emerge like rope, and they formed into a ball of flesh, blood, viscera, and chain. Blades emerged, and a single eye appeared. That eye almost had the color of Lucky's eye. And it just stared at you unblinking and faded into shadow, leaving behind the corpse of Lucky, his chest splayed open, staring vacant at the ceiling. We're going to go ahead and pick up right there. We're not going to advance too much. We'll pick up right there. You're standing in this warehouse. You're standing in front of the corpse of Lucky Longfinger.
Going to burning hands and set it on fire.
What in the nine hells was that?
It was Zonkuthon.
Who?
Zonkuthon. Shellen's brother. My father told me years ago, when he was still alive, of Zonkuthon. An evil, evil, evil god. If you even call him a god. He and Shellen were inseparable in a very young age. And they took different paths.
I would certainly say so.
I prayed after our battle, and Shellen told me what that was. All of those artists and ministers, and my father, all followers of Shellen. And Zonkuthon has killed them all. I've been chasing an evil god for all these years.
So the gods of Galarian are a vast and varied lot. they don't tend to take direct action in the lives of the people of Galarian. They act through followers. There are many gods of all sorts. There's Serenray, the goddess of light. There's Desna, the goddess of the stars. But there are evil gods as well, those who are venerated by wicked and hurtful souls. Shellen and Zan-Kuthon are a tragic tale. Shellen followed beauty and art and love. Zan-Kuthon went into a dark place beyond the stars. He ventured into places that no sane entity, no sane mind should ever go. He walked dark paths and came back changed. There are many who follow his wicked, hurtful, horrid ways, and he has many vile and terrible servants. That, Lucky was one of them you had no indication of.
I wonder how long he was a vessel for this evil. When we first met him, he seemed so totally benign.
So normal.
There's no way of knowing.
Well, he had been arrested for something.
Oh.
He'd been arrested several times, but who knows what for. He told us it was just thievery, but
It's a good liar.
that is for sure.
The main question I have, though, I never know what happened to my father's soul.
That is very troubling.
We can ask around, see if there's a way to track her soul.
It's something you never even thought to ask. When mortals die, their soul. This is known to anyone who practices faith. Every religion teaches a different version of this tale. Your soul leaves your body and travels beyond this realm to a place called the Boneyard. There it is brought before Pharasma, the goddess of death, and she judges your soul and determines where it should go. Based on your faith, based on how you lived, Pharasma sorts them all out and sends them on their way. Those who live feckless, unbelieving lives, they remain in her boneyard forever, tormented for eternity. But even then, those souls go on to another place. You never thought to question that your father went into Shellen's embrace. That thought never even crossed your mind. And for mortals, there's no real way for you to learn of a soul's true fate, not without asking for an emissary or communing with an agent of your deity. This is a thing that people can do, but it is only done in the most extreme of circumstances.
I would say this definitely counts.
It's extreme to us, but I'm not sure if an emissary would deem it.
No. Lucky seemed to indicate that something happened. Something out of the ordinary.
Do I know if this god has the ability to steal souls?
Zan-Kuthon?
Yes.
Give me a religion check.
Can I light my thurible?
You can, of course, make a religion check as well.
I'm going
Yeah.
to light my thurible,
Yeah.
so we're going to get a +1.
Yeah. As a follower of Shellen, I'm just automatically going to knock the DC down for you for various bits of this information, because all followers of Shellen are taught some aspects of Zan-Kuthon's faith.
Okay.
Not like you don't study it, but
Yeah.
you learn about,
Yeah.
your
You know both
your-
sides
yeah.
of the coin. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a 16 for me.
Okay.
21. 22.
Between the two of you, you managed to piece together a little bit. You don't have a complete picture because neither one of you sat down and read a Zan-Kuthon holy book. I mean, they're sharp. They're not pleasant things.
No.
So Zan-Kuthon is known as the Midnight Lord. He's the Lord of pain and loss and envy. He's kind of the darkened mirror for love and beauty and art. He's the opposite of that in all ways. He's things that are ugly and horrid. Soul stealing isn't necessarily his thing per se. It's not something he's known for. But stealing the souls of the followers of other deities is kind of it's kind of a way to get one up on the others. It's not a common practice, but it does occur. Now, you have burned Lucky's body, and it scorches and stinks as it burns. The only thing that's left of him once you're done are like the odd bits of scraps of cloth, and the 2 daggers he dropped. Now, one of them looks like an ordinary blade that looks like it was coated in some kind of poison. That was the ordinary one. The other one, though, is this silver-bladed dagger with this black leather hilt. And on the end of it is a single link of chain that dangles from a single loop attached to the pommel, just like every dagger in the paintings.
Do you know the significance of this chain link? Is that somehow connected to Zonkuthon?
Zonkuthon's... The chain's a very big part of him.
I can make a wild guess that we should perhaps not kill anyone with this dagger.
Or even touch it, perhaps?
What is my concern, because the gods love this symbolic imagery, is that this chain will bind their soul to the god, as he is all about chains, and it could be just another link, another soul in his chain. You know what I mean? It seems like that kind of imagery.
I have no interest in keeping this dagger. We should definitely turn it over to somebody who knows what to do with it.
It's the favorite weapon of Zonkuthon.
He works in a lot of blades and things that cause horrible lacerations. Chains play a big part of his faith and his symbol. In fact, looking at the blade, you notice that on the tang there is a tiny carved skull with chains coming out of its eye sockets. You recognize this immediately as the symbol of Zonkuthon.
Well, I can't leave it.
No.
No.
Do you think
Someone
there's
else to
someone in
find.
town that...
It might be a
tell
temple.
What sort of magic is on it?
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
it'll tell us where the souls go.
Can I detect magic on it?
You detect magic, and the way that detect magic works at your level is you can kind of specifically tell that it has magic in it. It is a magic item. You don't learn much more about it than that. It'll take more time.
Okay.
As you are doing all of this, you start to hear noise from the doors.
Oh, we did make a lot of noise. Perhaps we should
that
go.
is our backup.
And you hear someone call out, "Is there anyone in here? What seems to be this disturbance? Town guard, lay down your arms and come out peacefully."
It is very likely that we are surrounded.
We could
What should we do?
we could sneak out of one of the windows. But first this...
Without breaking it and making a lot of noise.
Or maybe we can open it. I don't know.
The windows are all up pretty high, and if you recall, I said that they don't open. They're
that's
just
right.
solid panes.
And
I
it's the
know
town
that-
guards outside.
It does sound like the town guard, yeah.
I know that,
At least that's who they're claiming
Is
to be.
there...
that up until now we have favored running away, but we can only run for so long.
It's true, I just don't want to get caught.
I know.
this does
I
make-
understand.
We did.
But we have plenty of evidence to prove that we are not, and we did not kill him. We've done nothing.
Do we really have all that evidence?
We have our word.
I think it... You look at the place that you're in, and first of all, it's a warehouse filled with
Undead.
who knows what, including scarred dock workers, a dead town guard.
Who has been flayed alive.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that we have a decent case for we definitely did not do this.
You have a mountain of evidence about what happened here tonight. I mean, not just what happened up at the estate, but also what happened here. There's a whole lot of things that you had nothing to do with
We at
that
least
you
have
just stumbled
something
upon.
resembling the remains of the person who did it. So
Oh, maybe I shouldn't have burned him. I just didn't want to see his face anymore.
Is it possible to send a message to the captain?
Captain de Grell?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm close enough to send one to her.
I think that we don't lose much by just being honest. I know
It's true.
that
The moment we got here, we've been saying to investigate. And
That's true.
there's a warehouse that they clearly did not come to. His name's on everything.
It's true.
There's you can now see light. The guards are clearly bringing lanterns and whatnot in with them because this place is dark.
Before we leave, there's one thing I have to ask you first. Would you like me to set it on fire? Would you like me to burn it?
Shellen does not like burning art.
Oh, well then.
This is not art. This is evil. Please.
Okay. I go set my hands on the painting, and I burning hands on the painting of your father.
So you just unleash a bit of flame, and the fire slowly rises up the canvas, burning it to ash. The frame is blackened and scorched, but it remains. And the painting itself, you watch as the flames lick up the canvas and destroy it. Moments later, the area that you are in is suddenly filled with a lot more people.
Yeah.
The town guard has arrived, and they are obviously really freaked out about what they've seen so far, making their way
Yeah.
through this place, and are in no mood for any resistance. And there are immediate calls to drop all of your weapons and put up your hands. You are under arrest of the town guard under the authority of Kenwright. You are under arrest.
Oh boy.
Pending investigation. The rest of the night goes by in a bit of a blur. You spend all of it in a cell, individually being questioned about what happened. Is anyone trying to bend the truth or hide any facts?
Linnaeus is just crying.
Just
She's saying the truth, but just crying. And then it's stabbed my friend.
Iculus isn't speaking, he's just praying, just meditating.
So you don't cooperate?
I cooperate, but I don't know if there's anything I really have to say.
Well, they ask you about the facts of the
Okay.
night, about the events. So they're not asking for interpretation. They're just asking about what happened at the manor.
Okay.
You and your friends arrived there under false pretenses. Like, they've sorted all of that out. After they went through the manor, because some of you, as you are marched to your cells, you see in other cells other nobles who have been arrested. You see, like, Lady Tirana's in a
Thank you.
cell.
Lady in red.
Lady Tirana, the social
Yeah.
piranha.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So obviously, the people you don't see in any cells, you do not see the Watcher Lord. He does not get arrested. The Lord Captain from
General Lord?
Yeah, General Lord from
Leo Carcinus?
Markholm.
Carcinus.
Leo Carcinus. Yeah, he's not in a cell. You do not see your paramour is not in a cell. But many of the nobles are. You even see some of the staff and whatnot. Like, they arrested everybody. That place was a sideshow of horror, and everyone got put in a cell until they could sort it out.
Did the chef get his kitchen staff out like I told him?
You don't see any of them, but this is a big place, and you're not 100% sure.
Is the art dealer in jail?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
I sneer at him as we pass.
Silor Pret is in a cell weeping.
Good. Right.
Nerves.
You baby.
It is what it deserves.
As I
So-
cry.
We're cooperative. I mean, we're...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get a complete rundown of the night's events, and it takes hours. You sit in a cell for an hour, then somebody comes and questions you, then they leave, then somebody else comes back and questions you. They ask you different questions every time. You're asked to explain what happened at each location like 3 times each while someone takes notes. They keep you awake the entire time. They don't let you sleep. And it's kind of a grueling process, but it's ridiculously thorough. It's the morning, and you only know this because through the thin bars that look out, you can see light. And each one of you is escorted into a room, and you soon find that you're all being brought together.
We have missed you. It is nice to see your face.
It's nice to see you all.
You're all okay?
You're in here by yourself for a few moments, and then the door opposite you, not the one that you were brought in from, which leads to the cells, but the one that probably leads to offices and stuff. The door opens up, and in walks Watch Captain DeGrell.
Hello.
And she's like, she walks in, sits down on the chair in front of you, looks at all of you, and says, "Well, you made my investigation simple." Lengthy, but simple. We got to the bottom of it.
I know.
She looks at all of you. Good work.
Thank you. I was worried. I know you said no vigilantism, but it was really, frankly, not going fast enough.
And very personal and very dangerous.
She looks at you. To be honest, considering what we found, you did the right thing.
Oh my gosh, thank goodness.
If only all of this could have been prevented.
The wheels of justice sometimes turn slowly. But every once in a while, we get a bit of grease.
I would
And-
imagine that it is not the worst idea to be a little bit more thorough in your searches of the warehouses at the docks. But I'm just saying,
She looks at you and says, we'll take it under advisement. It's hard to search every single crate that comes into the ports. We have to trust our captains to some extent. But it seems like this Lucent had been operating under our noses for quite some time, smuggling in contraband. There was much in those crates that was illegal. Shipments of drugs, shipments of foul necromantic magics, all sorts of horrible things.
Could we make a request? If there were any other knights from Lastwall that he brought in, could they please be laid to rest?
They've all already been put to the sword and have been sent for a general burial.
Thank you.
We don't know who they are or who their families are. They had no identifying marks on them, but we shall make sure that they are laid to rest as is dignified for soldiers.
it's absolutely despicable that such a distressing thing happened to them in the first place. How much dishonor are we to bear as we may not have known them or fought beside them, but we are the last echelon of them, and we will not see it happen again.
She looks at you and says, I am truly sorry for what has happened to you. I would like to extend the apology of our government that we did not find this out beforehand or that it got this far, and we appreciate that you intervened. You will, of course, be released. You are free to go. All of your gear will be returned.
Oh, my sword.
Of course. Yeah, they took the Everflame. They took
know.
everything.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
They stripped you of your armor and everything. You were down to rags and thrown in a cell. And we have all that in the other room. However, there is one object that we recovered from your person that we are assuming is not yours. However, it is of big question, and I would like to ask you about it. And she lays out on the table a black cloth and opens it up, and inside is the dagger.
We are not interested in keeping that. That should be taken to a temple of Shellen and disposed of as is
Yes.
proper for such a terrible piece.
The watch captain looks at you and says, I can, of course, understand that this might hold some significance for you. It seems like this Lucent character had this weapon on him, if your story is correct. We have cataloged that. However, this has a more important meaning to us, something that is quite troubling. This dagger bears the mark of a foul deity of Zon-Kuthon. You know this. It was in your records.
Yes.
However, its presence here in Kenwright is very troubling for a variety of reasons. The most important of which is the relations with our neighbor to the west.
How so?
Well, if you do not travel around these areas much, you may not know much about them. But to the west of us are a people called the Nidalese. They live in a place called Nadal.
Yes. I know Nadal.
Nadal is it is a troubling neighbor that fortunately gives us few problems, but that is not absolute. They have caused an issue for us over the years. The presence of a weapon like this tells us that they have made influence here in Multhune, and it is quite troubling. You see, Nadal is a land cloaked in shadow and darkness. It is filled with worshippers of Zon-Kuthon.
Yes.
And the fact that they are here violates any peace that we have with them. This is very, very troubling to us. And the origins of this dagger are not entirely clear. Why Lucent had it, who he was working for, we cannot honestly be sure. However, we do have agents who know more about this, but not here in Kenwright. We are too far away. We have, in particular, one of our general lords is rather an expert on Nadal.
Where do we find them?
You can find her in Doommark.
Doommark?
Doommark.
Oh, sounds benevolent.
Is that in Nadal?
No, it is here in Multhune. It is our westernmost city. It is close to the border with Nadal. You can find it up the river. The town is governed by the Lord of Ravens.
What is that?
Her name is Francine Maga.
Francine Maga.
Francine McGaw.
General Lord McGaw?
General Lord Maga. Yes, she is known by the locals as the Lord of Ravens. She will know a great deal more about this. Now, if you are uninterested in exploring this further, then we shall have it shipped there, and she will investigate it and tell us more. However, I have a sneaking suspicion that that will not be sufficient for you. In which case, I will prepare you a letter of marque, and you can travel there to speak with her about this dagger yourself, since it seems like it holds a personal significance.
Thank you.
I would absolutely like that. I know that my fellow knights would like that as well.
Very well. In that case, you are, of course, free to go. You will, of course, understand that we do not return this dagger to you until you leave town.
Oh, yes.
That
We
Completely
do not want this loose in our city.
Well, we do not want to bring it with us until we need to anyway.
And if it is okay with you, we will provide you a locked iron chest. We will, of course, provide you with the key
Yes, please.
Fantastic.
to keep it secure.
Yes. Is there a temple in town where we might worship? Maybe one of Shellen, one
Temple of Shellen, if you have one.
Saren Ray?
Yeah, there's a rather large temple of Shellen, yes, in town, and I have extended your passes. Of course, you have proven yourselves more than trustworthy. Although I would request that before you go running off to attack any more warehouses, please come get us. We will gladly come along.
Oh, yes, of course. Backup would be nice.
Also,
Hopefully we don't have to do that.
She looks at all of you with kind of a wry smile, and she kind of leans forward and just goes, "Well done.
Thank you.
It was quite a miss." And there are many in my organization that are now questioning how we process such information. We shall see if it leads to any changes. The wheels of bureaucracy turn slowly.
the town guard that you found in the warehouse, has his family been informed of his passing?
Fortunately, he was not married and had no children, but we have sent a letter to his parents. They live in Corholm. It's a sad letter, but yes, we have dispatched a note to them so that they might be informed of their son's fate.
I guess we better be on our way.
You may venture forth whenever you are ready. I would expect that you would like to rest up and recuperate. You all look,
Oh, yes, please.
she says, unfortunately, quite tired.
Do you mind if we do that outside of this godforsaken jail?
She says, of course.
No offense.
And escorts you to the room that has all of your gear and lets you out. So, couple of things. You're let loose back into Kenwright. You can travel about freely. Mr. Dempley is waiting for you outside when you are let free. He is waiting for you there with the wagon.
It is not often that I get to spend time with someone who is even smaller than I am.
My tunic! Oh! I'm climbing the stairs.
Mr. Dempley is there, and he says, "The lady wished for me to come and make sure that you were well taken care of after retrieving her son's painting. And you also learned, by the way, I should just note this because I'm sure you'll ask, all of the paintings were confiscated, and they're going to be attempting to find out who the next of kin are. They're just not even going to deal with that anymore. Anyone who bid on it, all their bids have been canceled. None of the nobles that attended the gala are going to be prosecuted necessarily. But the guard said they're going to be keeping an eye on them.
Yeah.
Good.
But
Because they're not good people.
No.
none of them are keeping any paintings, though.
Good.
Or sculptures. All of those are going to be returned. So Mr. Dempley says, the lady has graciously paid for your stay at the Platinum Whisper for the next week. You are free
So
to,
sweet.
you are free to
I could
rest
use
and
a
take your ease.
massage.
And I believe she has included a small token of her thanks. It is in the back.
Oh, what is
That
it?
is
We go into. Thank you very much, Mr.
very
Bentley.
kind of her.
Thank you, Mr. Dempley.
So
Your day.
Get into the back of the
you
carriage.
you load yourself into the carriage, and there is a small chest, and there's a note attached to it and a scroll with the lady's seal on it, and you open it up, and it says in her fanciful script, thank you from the bottom of my heart that you retrieved my son's final work. I believe you bid this much on the painting. Consider it yours as a bonus. So there is 1,250 gold pieces in there, which I believe was your final bid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which the other 750 that you had brings you up to about 2,000. So you have some time to spend to rest and recuperate. I should also note at this point in time, you've all leveled up.
Oh, level up, level up, level up.
I checked all of your XP totals, and it was clear to me that you had all clearly gotten enough to get to 7th level. Now, to keep things simple, I asked you to make all those changes between our games, so you've all already made those. For most of you, it was at least a general feat and a new skill increase. Some of you got new spells, like 4th level spells. Some of you got new class features as well. When those come up, we'll kind of exemplify them and talk about them. In addition, with the extra money that you got and the loot that you had from before, if you split that up all the different ways, everybody had about 400 gold pieces to spend. Now, to prevent this from turning into a shopping channel, I also asked you all to pick out an item or two. So why don't we go around the table and just talk about one interesting thing that you purchased in your time here. I'm assuming that the group spends a couple days here shopping, resting up, getting yourselves ready for the next journey. You're not necessarily under a time pressure right now, so you got a few days to relax and kind of get yourselves back together.
Retail therapy.
Yeah, there's some retail therapy that happens. So let's find out what that retail therapy is, and we'll start down at the end of the table with Aki.
All right, so one of the things I decided to buy, just based on some of the things that have been going on in our lives right now, I am the only person at the table who can't see in the dark. So I got myself goggles of night so that I can see in the dark for an hour, but it also adds +1 item bonus to any of my perception checks. So yeah, I have a nice beefy perception check now.
That is really handy, and I think you even got some with leveling up too.
Yep.
So very keen eyes, and now more importantly, eyes that can actually see when it gets dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can actually do my scouting job at night too, or in dark places.
Very handy. Tariel, what did you pick up?
Well, my big thing was a rune of wounding. So my rapier now does bleed damage as well.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah, your rapier has served you well, but it was time to actually look at making that thing a truly deadly weapon.
Yeah, because I wasn't like super effective up close combat.
Yeah.
So
And it seems like monsters tend to get in your face a bit more than you thought.
yeah, it's surprising.
All right. Linnaeus.
Linnaeus, as soon as she's out of here, she's going to go find some kind of a shrine or a temple of Sundry if they have one here. And spend some time there, but she's going to get some prayer beads while she's out.
Ooh.
Yes.
And those let you cast what? Bless and heal once per day each?
Yes, without losing a spell slot.
And I think they even add a little bit of healing on top
They do.
of every heal spell you cast.
Yes.
So those are pretty useful.
Magnificent.
And you do find a shrine to Sundry here in town, where you can worship and pray.
Yes.
It's not a full temple. Sundry isn't a huge deity in Multhun, but is
She
present.
is in my heart.
That's fair. Jeremy, what did Iculus pick up?
Iculus will also be attending a temple today. Before a massage and maybe a little spa time and maybe
Oh,
Yeah.
time.
yes, it's me time. But in addition to that, Iculus picked up a striking rune, which is gonna add some more damage with that bastard sword, which is what this champion needs.
Yeah.
I believe a +1 and a roll 2.
Well, it's already a +1 weapon, but
Yeah.
the striking rune is going to add an entire extra die of damage.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
And in addition to that,
Yep.
a glove of storing, which will be able to store this giant bastard sword. So now I don't have to use an action to draw the sword if I want to store it.
Yeah.
And just like that, the art gala where we had to have our peace bonded weapons, that no longer needs to happen either because I can store it in the glove and no one will even know that we have it.
That's wild.
Now, question, will I be able to store anyone else's weapons in there?
You can store only one item in it at a time, and when you summon the item, it appears in your hand. So if you wanted to hide a different item in it, just so that it's hidden, you could do that. But it can't hold an item that's more than one bulk. So you can't like hide like a piano in there.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, no, that's not
I
gonna
play
work.
my creepy organ music if I can't carry this.
Oh darn. All right.
Glove or one in a pair?
It's one glove and it holds one thing. The magic item is actually only one glove.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Fancy.
Yeah.
All right, well, I got myself some magic armor because I got some fancy armor from Lady Woodland, but it has someone else's house symbol on it, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I wanted something for me. And so I get a +1 to my AC.
Very nice.
Nice. Get that
So
AC.
tough.
Yeah.
Always.
More AC is more better.
Always.
All right. So a few days fly by. If there's anything else anyone in particular wants to do in Kenwright before you head out to Doommark, now's your chance.
I really want to very quickly speak with Captain DeGrell about the family of the young man who died in the warehouse and get a little bit more information about that.
Okay.
Since it's possible we might be back in Corhome at some point in the nearish future.
Okay. You make your way to DeGrell's office, and DeGrell is, in the middle of checking people for passes and turning most of them away. But when she sees you, she stops and lets them all wait, and brings you into her office, and she's like, Liz, good to see you. Good to see you. What can I help you with today?
I just wanted to check really fast if you had any information about that guard's family. I just want to know their names. In the event that we're in Corhome, or I would love to check in with them.
She gets out some paperwork and looks through it, and looks to you and says, yes, his name was Private Stemmen. He lived in Corhome. He was one of the guards at the docks. He disappeared from duty roster less than a week ago. We've been looking for him ever since.
Well, thank you. I am so sorry that his life had to be lost.
The lieutenant in charge of him said he was a good soldier and vigilant at the docks.
I am only sorry that I could not do more for him.
Considering the condition that he was in, I think we all understand.
Still, I feel it is my personal duty to make sure that his parents know that, or at least see the face of the person who was the last one to see him alive.
She kind of leans forward and says, there were questions about his body in particular. And the thought was that, according to the letter of the law, there should be some form of charge pressed. However, considering the situation, the captain decided that it was best to call this a mercy. And she looks pained. It is difficult, but it is the right thing to do. There is no way that he ever would have been made whole again.
I do not disagree, which is why I did what I did, but if it were someone that I loved, even if it were for the right reasons, a moment to sit with the person who saw him last, that would be everything. We have so little time with the people that we love in this life.
I'm sure his parents would appreciate it if you end up in Corhome again.
Thank you for understanding.
You are able to make your way back. Does anyone else have anything else they want to do before you depart?
I have a couple of things.
Oh, you do?
I should
Oh, interesting.
probably deal with.
Do you need any backup?
No, I'll be fine.
Do you want to take a beetle?
Yes.
Okay, here, I'll give you to you again. He liked you.
I liked him too.
Kind of crawls around and clicks.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right, thank you. So first I'd like to go to my parents' house.
Okay.
Said with such conviction.
You return home, and you get up and end up having to ring the bell. And a few moments later, the manservant comes out and lets you in.
Oh, hello, Renlo.
Ah, lady. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm coming by because I have to leave again.
Your father will be in a mood with such news.
Yes, but there's not really anything he can do to stop me now, is there?
I suppose not. I believe you will find him up in his office
All right.
instead of the study. You make your way into the house that you grew up in, and make your way up the old stairs, the fourth one of which creaks and still has never been fixed, and soon find yourself up at the door to your father's office, the room that you are not allowed into until you are grown. That was always kind of your father's sanctum.
I still knock before I come in.
You hear your father's voice. Come in.
I'll walk through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Daddy.
Tariel. He's sitting behind his desk. He has a stack of paperwork in front of him, a number of scrolls, military business. That's what he does here. He's probably reading through reports from the field and signing orders and things like that. He's not a field soldier anymore. He's retired from that. His job now is kind of a higher level functionary within the military to help manage like logistics and stuff. It's pretty boring work, but it's what he's suited for these days. He was wounded in an engagement many years ago and doesn't walk too well anymore. So he looks at you from the paperwork that he hasn't put down.
So I have some news that will probably not make you too happy.
He's looking at them. I don't believe you've made me happy in many years.
Yes. Well, I'm leaving again.
I'd pretend to be surprised. He looks up from the paperwork, and he's got his spectacles on the end of his nose.
Our business that we came here to deal with is taking us to Nadal now. And I don't know if you heard, but we were able to apprehend that assassin that we were looking for.
Yes, I saw the watch reports. He looks at you, and you see him kind of weigh. For that, Kenwright owes you its thanks.
I'm just honestly relieved that I can come back here at some point. And hopefully bring some honor to our family name.
He puts the paperwork down. He leans across the desk, looks at you square for the first time. Your mother says that you have been in Nirmathas, in Kassin.
Yes. That's where we fought most of the undead.
Is that your home now? Have you thrown in with the rebels?
I don't really know if I can say I have a home there. not with everything that we're fighting and we're chasing right now. But I do have an alliance with the Everflame.
He looks at you with a pained look on his face. If Cassin is your home, if Nirmathas is your home, then you are no longer welcome in this house. I will not have a rebel in my family.
Then it seems I will make my home elsewhere then. It was nice talking to you, Imrid. I wish you a good, rest of it.
You are dismissed.
I'm gonna make my way, to the garden.
You make your way down to the garden, and before you get there, you actually find your mother. She's down in the kitchen right at the moment, currently kneading some bread, forming up loaves before putting them in the oven. Your mother always would do this. You have cooks, but she refused to let them make bread. It just was not okay. They never made it the way she liked.
No, they never made it as well as she does.
She sees you and just shakes her head. You can see the tears on her cheek. She knows already. And without a word, she just drops the bread, absent-mindedly, half on the cutting board, half off, and comes to embrace you. She just, the moment you try and say anything, she just, shh. It's okay.
I have to leave again.
I know.
I just want to thank you for always supporting me and accepting me.
Well, never. You will always have a home in my heart, even if your home is not here.
I think we will be at the Platinum Whisper for at least one more night if you are able to. Come say hello. If not, I completely understand.
She looks at you and says, "It's best that I don't. But I wish you all the best, and I will write."
And I will write you as well. And I'm going to reach into my pouch and take out the jewelry and the sigil that she had sent. And I'm going to give it back to her.
She pushes it back at you.
I don't really think I'm going to need this where I'm going.
No matter what your fool of a father says, you are always part of this house.
With that, I'm going to throw my arms around her.
You and your mother embrace, and she, goes to the oven where one of the fresh loaves has just come out and is cooling, and she wraps it up, and goes over to a vase and pulls out one of the winter roses that she picked this morning and ties it up in the package with it. And she says, "I can't have you leaving here hungry," and she walks you back out to the front door to see you away from your home, possibly for the last time.
You are the best person in Monthune. I know it.
She says, looks at you dead in the eye and says, "The second best."
I'm going to hug her one last time and then go back to the Platinum Whisper.
And she sends you on your way.
I have tissue. Does anybody need one?
I have pillows on my arm.
All right. So,
Okay.
anyone else like to do anything in camp before they leave?
Crying is a free action.
Just get to know my ex. We spend a nice afternoon together. I take it to coffee.
Let's
So,
do that spa day.
You know,
Spa with the ex.
briefly though, You do spend some time working with the axe, and you quickly come to realize that the blade of it is made of an incredibly hard metal. And in fact, you've seen this metal before. You had a chunk of it that you found out at the lake. The blade of this is possibly adamantine, or at least laced with it.
Wait, say what?
The blade of the axe is laced with adamantine. You're not sure if it's full adamantine. It may not be pure.
That's the
snitwick stone.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
sky stone.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask if there was a person I could ask about my sky stone.
Well, so
Don't
when you
need it.
yeah, when you were out, you managed to have someone look at the axe and the metal of the axe, and it's a powerful weapon. Every time you grab it, you feel like an electricity. It's kind of like electric to the touch, and you're not sure what's quite up with it yet, but there's something about it.
Maybe you can put that piece that you had into the pommel.
Here's a question.
Ooh.
Can I detect alignment on the axe?
Detect alignment on the axe?
I did wonder if it was cursed.
What alignment are you trying to detect?
To see if it's evil. It was in an evil place. It looks pretty dark, no offense.
That's okay. It does.
Yeah, it looks kind of scary. I want to see if there's something evil about it.
No, you.
No? Okay.
It's not evil.
Maybe not.
No,
I'm not sure.
She's not getting any from it.
I'm not getting anything, but that doesn't mean much. But there are things that look evil that aren't.
So, your respite over, you quickly begin to investigate a means by which you might travel to Doommark. Doommark is up the river from Kenwright. So, the best way to get there is to travel up the Nosum River, which, as I mentioned, Kenwright has two rivers that flow into it before those rivers flow out to Lake Incarthen. One of those rivers is the Nosum River. That river travels to the west, and at the end, at the very headwaters of that river, in the hills of the mountains, is the town of Doommark. They can easily kind of explain to you where you might find it. Now, getting there, the easiest way to do that is either overland or on a river barge. Do you have a preference? Would you like to ride horses, or would you like to ride a barge?
Do we want to mount up again? I know this one doesn't like water very much. And the long...
Yes, please.
No more lobsters.
No more rock
No.
knobs.
Preferable.
Yep. Horses.
Land.
Question: Do you want to rent horses? You can do that, or you can just hire to ride with a merchant caravan that makes its way that way.
That also works.
We could probably
What's cheap?
sign ourselves onto a merchant's caravan to be protection. Some heavies for merchants. They probably need
Great
them.
idea.
And travel entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You can easily find a merchant caravan that's making its way that way. There are merchant caravans that travel up and down that way frequently. The journey is relatively swift. It takes a few days, but considering the distance traveled, that's not too bad. As I said, the roads in Multhune are very well maintained and well guarded. So your services guards, when you offer to be guards for a caravan, the merchant's like, I don't need guards. What are you talking about? The roads are well patrolled. So they do charge you, but it's only a few coins, right? I mean, it's nothing that the party can't spare.
No, we didn't think we were going to need to defend ourselves on a boat either, but there we are.
Well, the waters of Lake Incarthen are far more dangerous. This place is well patrolled and well maintained. But as your journey heads further and further west, you do notice signs of the slip of the civilized world. The path, a little less well maintained. The guard patrols get far less frequent, but they're still there. The journey, as I said, takes about 2 days, and at the end of those 2 days, you stop at another town on the way. Spends about half a day there loading off some goods, getting more goods, and then continuing onward. But after about 2 days, you arrive at the town of Doommark, which is announced by the caravan master as you crest over a hill and down. You are looking kind of off to the west, and you see the river Nosum as it makes its way through the middle of Doommark. The town is kind of clustered around the river, and from there you can see it kind of snake its way up into the Menador Mountains, which is the mountain range to the south. So you've got this mountain range that you've been kind of traveling along, and it's to the south of you, and it kind of runs east-west, right? And far off in the distance, kind of to the north, you can see the bottom of the Mindspin Mountains. You have been along this mountain chain, but much further to the north, up in Nirmathos, but this is kind of where it ends. And where these two mountain ranges meet, the one traveling east and west and the one traveling north and south, kind of forming a T, there is a valley. Okay? So you're looking at Doommark, and beyond it is this valley. Looking at the map when you were trying to plan this journey, you could see that the path leads from Kenwright to the west to Doommark. Beyond Doommark is Nadal. It's not like the edge of town is Nadal. There's still wilderness and countryside. But beyond that valley between the end of the Mindspin Mountains and the Menador Mountains, that is the start of Nadal. And just by its very reputation, you can see why. There is gray and black storm clouds looming over that valley and off to the west. You can see nothing beyond it.
That is ominous.
The wagon makes its way down the hill to the town of Doommark. When you arrive on the outskirts, the wagon master pulls off to a carriage inn, which is where the wagon master is staying. And he kind of looks to all of you and says, "Well, here we are. Hope you enjoyed your journey. Fare thee well." And kind of goes about his business.
How do we find this Lord of Ravens?
I would imagine she'd be in the centralmost place in a town like this if she's the person in charge. We could probably ask any old person on the street. They'd point us to her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, going to find a person.
Okay. You make your way into the town, and Doommark is kind of a different kind of place. It's an old town, wood and stone buildings, but they look older than anything you saw in Kenwright. They're kind of grimy. It looks like this town uses a lot of coal in its furnaces and whatnot. So everything has kind of black soot all over it. And you don't go more than 20 feet into town. These old like slate roofed buildings, kind of dripping with kind of black soot stained water. It apparently rained here this morning. And you make your way into the street, the big puddles reflecting a kind of gray sky in the distance, but bluer close to you as you look through the town off into the distance. And sitting up on the eaves, you can't help but notice there are a lot of ravens in this town. And they are perching on eaves and on posts. And as you make your way in, they kind of stare at you, and if you get too close, they're like, "Caw, caw, caw!" And they kind of flap their wings and fly away, and then they all kind of get up on the eave and just stare at you.
I say hello to every single one.
All right.
Hello.
Witchy, aren't they?
Hello.
Menace, watch out for the beetles.
Oh, no, they're
Want to
hidden.
stick them in a pie is what I want to do.
The birds. Why?
Because they would be delicious.
A crow?
A raven, I think, is what these are. But yeah, you've never had a raven pie before.
No, thank you.
As you make your way a bit deeper in, there's someone with a little tin cup sitting on the side of the road. And you can hear a copper coin jingling in it. And you hear a kind of whispery voice. Coin for the needy!
Oh.
Coin for the needy!
Going to run over and take one of my, the remaining gold that I have, put a whole gold piece in.
And you look down at the woman, and she's kind of in rags. And she looks up at you, and you notice that her skin is ashen and gray. And she looks up at you, and she has these kind of beady little eyes and her kind of sallow cheeks, and she has an entirely gray complexion. And she's like, "Coin for the needy!"
Are you okay?
She looks down at you and says, "I'm a bit cold and hungry, but yes, coin for the needy."
Oh, yes, of course, here.
Oh, she looks down and sees did you put a gold piece in there? She's like, oh, and her fingers look too long. They're like, they don't have an extra knuckle, but they are too big. And she just reaches in and grabs it and slips it into her rags, and she's like, you are most generous. Most generous.
Oh, Sarah and Ray, obliges us to give to those who are in need.
Ah, too bright.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Could you help us perhaps find the Lord of the Ravens?
She kind of looks at you.
Oh, no?
You want to speak to the Lord of the Ravens?
Oh, yes.
I could take you to the Lord of the Ravens.
Could you really?
She kind of stands up. Yes, Quellig could take you to the Lord of the Ravens.
Are we sure?
What's your name?
I would like
Quellig.
very much to.
Quellig.
Can I real quickly just detect some lies?
Well, you can give me, what's your perception bonus?
My perception bonus?
Or, I mean,
I also am very curious.
I think
if
we
you
all
have
are.
something, what am I rolling against to lie to you is what I'm asking. Is
Well,
it perception or?
It will now be deception.
Oh, did you pick up lie to me?
I picked up lie to me. Do I roll as well?
No, I do.
Okay.
What's your deception?
15.
All right. Quellig seems weird, but on the up and up. I mean, you're not. I mean, it's hard to say. She has such weird mannerisms, and as she stands up, you notice she's kind of a bit taller than you expected her to be. She was really kind of folded up on the floor there. I mean, she's not towering over all of you, but is surprisingly not tiny.
I love it. I love her.
What is your story?
I live in that crate over there.
We keep meeting people who live in boxes.
It's true.
So you can take us to the Lord of the Ravens.
Quellig can take you to the Lord of the Ravens.
Thank you, Quellig. We would very much appreciate it.
Do you have another coin for Quellig?
Yes, of course.
Just a second. Perhaps some of your mother's bread.
Oh, that's long gone.
Oh, we ate that.
Yeah, it's been a 2-day journey. You weren't going to let that go stale.
You know how you like baked goods?
I guess I did eat all that. Yes, I did eat all
Going to
that.
go ahead and give her another whole gold coin.
It's true.
Oh, Quellig will take you. And she begins to lead you off into the town. And her path is a little meandering.
It's very cheap.
We know.
Her path is very meandering, and she takes you like down an alley. And it's just like, this way to the Lord of the Ravens.
Seems trustworthy. Sure.
Okay.
I'm going to take out my dagger.
Yeah.
Just to hold.
We're going to have to talk about your definition of trustworthy.
I trust everyone.
Yes, we know.
Yes.
No, this way.
Okay.
And you go down an alley, and at the end of this
Hands on the
alley,
sword.
like up on the eave, there is a gigantic raven. And I don't mean like, it's not like 10 feet tall, but it's a big bird. It's like this big.
Big boy.
And it just, caw, 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 and she's, no, I'm taking them to her. I'm taking them to her. And Quellig seems to be talking to the raven, and the raven goes, caw, caw, and kind of hops over and looks at you, caw, and then kind of hops over to the other side. This raven seems to, like, you're not sure if it understood that, but it kind of acted like it did.
Quellig,
Another intelligent bird.
do you speak Raven?
No, Quellig does not speak raven. But ravens hear everything. No lying to a raven. That's a saying in Doommark. Don't lie to a raven.
Oh, I like that.
Raven, are we being taken to the Lord of Ravens?
Caw! And the raven takes to wing and flies off to the west.
Bye.
Oh,
I like that one.
what does that mean?
Quellig is like, this way, and kind of,
Going to the west.
the Quellig kind of follows the raven.
Perfect. I
You
follow.
can't lie to a raven, remember? And Quellig did say.
Oh, yes, don't lie to a raven. The Lord hears, don't lie to a raven. And kind of campers off down
Some comfort.
down the next street. And as she turns the next corner to the next avenue, down at the end of this road, rising up from the town, you kind of saw from a distance, but you weren't sure what it was, is kind of a ramshackle tower. Kind of like black soot-stained wood. It looks really old. And from all of the kind of windows in it, you can clearly make out that it's like a rookery. Because there are ravens all over the place. And especially coming in and out of it, and there are ravens all over it. And Quellig is like, this way, and kind of hops and leads you down that way. towards the rookery.
Okay, this appears to be the place.
I like this. I like it here. It's cool.
Okay.
Well, now that we understand your aesthetic a little bit better, that is helpful.
I just want a lot of companions, a lot of birds, a lot of insects, a lot of things.
Can all of you give me a perception check?
Okay.
19.
19.
17.
21?
20.
28. Because I'm looking at the birds.
Looking at everything.
I'm excited. I can see for miles.
You are indeed looking up at the birds, and many of you have, ever since you've gotten this town and the ravens are all around you, have this sensation that you're being watched. And I mean, you are. The ravens are watching you, clearly. And you are kind of looking up at the birds and making your way through the town, and they are all up on eaves staring at you, and you pass by a building, and you look up at the birds, and then you look over to the next one, and as your eyes scan away, you can see in one of the windows a pale nobleman.
I immediately stop and I go to the window.
It's up on the second floor.
Oh.
And you stop and look back, and you can see the drape closing, and still moving as if it was just closed.
I go to the door.
Wait, Linnaeus?
Where are you going?
I just go to the door.
They're going that way.
It's an inn. It's called the Black Feather Inn. It's also like half a block away from the rookery.
I'm just running.
All right. Well, you run up to the door of the Black Feather Inn.
Following.
Linnaeus.
Can I open the door?
Yeah.
You don't need ale. There's ravens.
Is there a person behind the...
Yeah, I mean it's an inn. So you go inside, and it's like mid-afternoon right now, and they're currently serving some drinks, and you notice that there are the above the door and the windows, there are holes that are like dormers that can be opened, and there are ravens inside the bar, and they're being fed by patrons and by the bar. So there's a few ravens in here hanging out eating food, and behind the bar is a woman, and she's just serving drinks, and she's like, "Can I help you?"
I run right on up to the bar and I say, "Do you have a man living here, a nobleman, very pale, silver hair, of a sort of a dour disposition?"
The pale man again.
She's like,
You have seen him.
we do have some guests here. I don't know that any of them match. I didn't check anyone in this morning.
No nobleman, lots of black and purple frills and finery.
She's like, I don't believe so. I could check the log.
Yes, please.
What have you been seeing?
Not that it has a description, but she goes through the names, and she's like, I don't know. There's a family in the suite, and
It's a single man.
There is a traveling merchant, but he's a dwarf, and she kind of goes through the list, and nobody really matches up. There's a pair of there's a human couple visiting the town. But they're young. There's a dwarven merchant. There's a family in one of the suites, and that's kind of it.
Thank you for your time. I must have mistaken.
She's like, oh, very well. Well, let's come back anytime.
Thank you.
Linnaeus, what is it with this nobleman?
I mentioned the pale man a little while ago, and nobody said remembered I'd seen him.
When we were out at the bar.
I've seen him twice now.
What?
Why didn't you say nothing?
I mean, it was at the gala. There's a lot of pale, noble people there.
Same
Most nobles are pretty pale.
Same one. And
Did they have the piercing eyes like Liz said?
yes. And I just thought I thought that I saw him in a window upstairs.
Have you seen him any other times? Or has anything strange happened to you lately?
No?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Tariel, your lie detector goes off like no one's business. You know Linnaeus way too well for that. Especially with your new skill. You're like, no.
Okay.
We should go to the Lord of the Ravens. I
Yes,
must
we
have
should.
been mistaken.
Quellig is still standing at the door, being like, "No one to go see Raven. I mean, this is not Lord of Ravens." He kind of points.
It is.
This is barkeep.
Okay.
This is barkeep.
We are coming now. We apologize for for being sidetracked.
Thought I saw someone I knew.
No, many like ravens here in Doommark. It's good to like a raven. That's another saying in Doommark. It's good to feed a raven,
Quite a
never lie to a raven.
Raven poop all
many raven rules.
Raven poop everywhere. Let's
Well, it's true.
get out of here.
There's a lot of raven poop, but
I will lead you now to the Lord.
thank you.
Quellig brings you down the street, and upon arriving at kind of the square that holds the tower that has the rookery, there are a lot of ravens on like the fence post, and there's like a wrought iron fence around the rookery, and it's covered in ravens, and they caw madly at Quellig as she approaches, and she's like, "Meh, yeah, yeah."
They certainly do not like you.
What happened?
Lord of Ravens does not wish to speak to Quellig today. That is, well, understandable. You should go on. The Lord of Ravens will be inside.
Thank you, Quellig.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I will wait out here if you need any more help.
I think we're okay.
Maybe you
but
use that gold coin to buy yourself something to eat. You look hungry.
Oh, yes.
well, perhaps
I shall definitely have.
new clothes or something.
She looks down and it's just like, no, these still smell okay.
Okay.
Very much, we appreciate your help, Quellig.
Thank you, Quellig.
To be clear, you don't know what Quellig actually is. Quellig is not
Definitely
not human, not elf. Quellig is something else. You're not sure what.
I love it.
And Quellig kind of capers off.
Bye.
That was
Ta-ta.
interesting for our very first interaction in this place. I feel like it sets a certain tone.
A lot of
Certainly
things set a
does.
certain tone. I like staring at the 30 birds looking at us.
Should we knock?
It's adventure.
It's way more than 30 right now.
I
Here-
just mean at eye level.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there are about
Just
30.
scan on the fences.
They're all looking at you and kind of cawing.
Iculus has his mask over his head so he's not getting like pooped on.
You are a little bit too precious.
None of you have been dive bombed by the birds.
That's good. That's good.
I have been dive bombed by a raven. It is not fun.
They are terrifying. So the rookery stands before you.
Oh, no.
I want to just go up to the row of birds very gingerly, but so that Linnaeus can hear, and just sort of in a very loud sort of stage whisper, "Do you think you could keep an eye out for a pale nobleman for a friend of mine? Thanks so much."
They kind of look at each other.
Ray, let's go in.
And that's where I role-played a bunch of ravens.
Good. You can congratulate. Add it to the master class.
Doing what I can. Yeah, that's fair. Thank you. All right, so. All right,
Don't think I'm not going to talk
That's-
more to the birds, because
that's going to get
We're all
gift.
gonna talk
All right, so.
bird friends, bird friends, bird friends.
So, you are able to approach the tower, and the birds kind of. It's kind of intimidating, to be honest. The birds are kind of all around you, and as you move, they fill the space that you are in and get out of the space that you're about to enter. So you're kind of being herded forward by ravens.
Some of these ravens are as big as I am. I do not like it.
Okay.
I'm going to take it as we're welcome.
I think so. Ravens, may we enter?
They just keep herding you. Kind of.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, hi.
And you are ushered up into the rookery. At the bottom of the rookery, there is an old wooden door, black with soot. And there's an old rusted handle, and you're able to kind of go, and it's just one of those thumb latches, and you can pull open the door, and it opens with a creak. And there you are looking into the base of the rookery, and it's messy, because, I mean, it's filled with ravens. So there's a lot of feathers and a lot of bird dung, bird poop everywhere. And but there is still kind of a clear path, and one of those paths goes to a staircase that spirals around the outside. The other leads to what looks like a basement, or goes down beneath the ground. And there is flickering torches that look like they lead down. Looking up, you just see birds.
Hello?
We probably, if up is all of that, we probably need to go down.
Where the lights are. That's smart.
Yeah, let's get away from all of the poop.
Okay, let's go
This
down.
is a smell. What a lovely smell we have discovered. I don't want to discover it again. Let's go.
There are more
I believe
birds
that's a
down
great
there.
You make your way down into the vault below the rookery. And you soon find yourself in a large vaulted chamber. This looks like it looks like it's probably was at one point in time just kind of like a storeroom, but now it looks like it's been converted into kind of an office of sorts. There's a long table in the middle, kind of an oblong table, and there are chairs all around it. And beyond that, there is an old blackened desk piled high with like rolled scrolls and notes and parchments. Behind it are maps of the city, maps of the area. The whole area back there like is filled with books and notes and things like that. And standing up from behind the desk is a woman. She is in black leather armor. She has kind of scrolls at her waist. She has a raven that is currently perched on her shoulder, and as she stands up, it kind of hops down into her arm. And she's currently reading a scroll, and she looks like this. All right.
I love her. Tariel's eyes just turned to giant hearts shit out of her head.
We are
Icarus is
all in
like,
love.
And
Hello.
Sit up a little straighter. I'm saying.
never has an entire group fell in love with one character faster. All right.
Problem.
She looks at all of you and says, "Ah, I assume you're the ones that DeGrell sent.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Pleasure to meet you.
The Knights of Everflame, I believe."
That's correct.
And she steps around the desk and says, "I am the Lord of Ravens. You may call me Francine."
Francine, well, I am.
And
I'm Tariel.
You Kurt.
Icarus.
you go to kiss her hand, and she kind of does one of these, and then just pulls it away as you go to kiss. And she's like, she looks at you and goes, "Fresh."
I'm Linnaeus. I love your bed.
Okay, I'm just gonna go stay.
She looks at you and goes, "Well, don't give up that easy."
Oh.
And she walks around the table with kind of a bit of a saunter, and just like, "So, what brings you to my town?"
We have something we would like to show you. We have been told that you would possibly have a decent amount of information about it.
The dagger, I'm assuming.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and I guess we would have put the chest in your bag of holding.
Yeah, reach into my bag, pull out a giant chest.
She says, the message I got from DeGrell told me that this had been found under unusual circumstances and that I should be expecting you.
Yes.
I, of course, did a bit of research myself. She looks at all of you and says, "Well, let's see it."
Unlock it. I don't really want to touch it.
She looks at you and says, "Allow me." And she reaches in and pulls out it's wrapped in a velvet cloth, and she sets it down on the table and unfolds it and looks at it, kind of turns over the dagger, looks at it on both sides, and she says, Huh. She looks honestly perplexed, and she looks like a woman of she exudes confidence in all of her kind of mannerisms. She looks at the raven that's on her arm that's been there, and she walks over to a stand and just kind of, and he kind of hops off, and she kind of goes back to the dagger and she goes, "Well, I didn't think I'd ever see one of these.
What is it?
I don't know much about them, which should tell you how secretive they are about them, but I believe," and she kind of looks at the chain link and she reaches out to touch it and then moves her hand away. You said you found this in Kenwright.
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
we don't know much about them. They are very rare. If this is what I think it is, and she kind of looks at it, and she says, I think this is an object sacred to Zon-Kuthon. There are many, every faith has relics and baubles that they consider, valuable to them, but some contain shards of true power. Kind of dances around the table, looking at it from different angles. If this has been found here, that means they are using them. It's a terrifying thought.
What do they do?
Who are they?
The Church of Zon-Kuthon.
In Nidalis? Are they coming over to...
Well, if they are here, that means that they are taking these sacred relics out of Nidal and bringing them here, yes.
What do they do?
If I'm not mistaken, and she goes over to a giant pile of books and moves a bunch aside. She kind of takes some of them and just throws them on the floor, and then she finds one further down and starts paging through it. She says, I don't know much about them, and I've never seen one in person, so you'll have to excuse me. My knowledge on this is thin. However, I believe this might be what is known as a soul rend dagger.
I was right and I hate it.
If it is what I think it is spoken of only in the harshest of whispers, and we're not entirely sure what the purpose is. The cult guards that religiously, she says with a bit of a smile.
Oh. Do we know how many of these exist?
No, we don't even know. I've never seen one in person,
Well,
but
now you
there are
have.
more than one. She kind of looks at it and she's rubbing her hands. She goes and sits back behind the desk and puts her boots up. She says, well, my lovelies, looking at all of you, you can take the safe road, but it'll take us probably a few months to figure out what the true nature of this thing is. I can do a lot of research. I can send out for some books. Or, she kind of throws up a smile, we can do it fast and dangerous.
We're quite a fan of the ore.
You said we and us, meaning you'd be joining us.
Not exactly. I would need you to help.
Do we get a raven?
She looks at you and she goes, they're not mine to give. And the raven looks at her and caw, caw. And she's like, watch out for that one. He bites.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean you need our help?
I never thought I'd have my hands on one, and it's a good thing I saved a pint. I have an object. Let me perform a little bit of a ritual. It would allow us to explore the history of these daggers directly.
Oh,
And
But it's not safe.
of course.
nothing we've been doing lately has been safe.
What are the dangers?
I have an old relic, a thing I found quite some time ago, and it's nearly out of oil, but I could use it once for this, and it might be worth it. If these daggers are out of Nidal, that getting an answer sooner rather than later might be critical. It's called the Lantern of Lost Light. If I use it, you would be able to explore the history of the dagger, but you would do so by traveling into the plane of shadow. There, you would find its darkened history still stored within the mist and the darkness, but it's not safe to be there. There are things that dwell in those shadowy places, and they do not take kindly to strangers invading their domain.
You mean to tell me we can find out every victim who may have fallen victim to this dagger?
If the daggers are connected, then that is possible. It seems that the only bit of lore, and she's looking at the book, is that all of the daggers are linked in some way. That is all that we know about them, and that they are used to, well, their name implies it all. I think they steal souls.
Do those souls end up in the plane of shadows?
She's like, I don't know. We don't know anything about them. We've never seen one. The cult guards these things with a fervor.
We have to
We
do
must do it. Jinx.
I mean, we don't really have months, do we? I mean,
get
with every
divorced.
passing moment, our other enemy becomes stronger.
There might be some very relevant information for my.
I would like to see your
All this
story
death.
to be resolved.
We may also get information we
Happily.
need about our other enemy. It's entirely possible, if this realm of shadows has bad things in it, that bad things know about other bad things. I don't know, it's a stretch. Maybe.
If you're willing, I will need to maintain the ritual. That is, someone needs to keep the lantern lit, and it requires all of their focus and concentration. I will not be able to go with you, but I will be able to send you into the past, into the history of this. It won't be the real history. You can't change anything. It's not actually real. It's just a shadow of what was. But from there, you should be able to travel along all of its branching paths and perhaps find out more about these things, what they're being used for, and what their purpose is. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The cult does not allow these things out of their hands. And if they knew you had it, they would send assassins after you.
Okay, so here's a concern. What if they know we have it, and we go into this thing and we just leave you vulnerable?
She looks at you and kind of gives a smile. Oh, I won't be alone. And I'll know if anyone's coming. And she looks at all the ravens.
Just in case, is there anyone else that you trust that you could bring here to be with you? I would feel better knowing you weren't alone. Although the ravens do a great deal, they don't carry swords.
She says, they don't, but my guards know to obey them.
Okay.
She reaches into one of her drawers and pulls out like a little bit of a biscuit, and she breaks off the top of it and holds it up, and a raven comes and swoops it and takes it by, and he lands up on the rafter above her, and she says, go let the others know to keep watch. And the raven kind of, caw, caw, and she's like, yes, I know, yes, there'll be more. And he, caw, and then flies off.
I must say that it's rather unfortunate that you will not be joining us, but perhaps that we could talk after we return.
She looks at
That's
you. and
neither
says-
here nor there.
She says, she looks at you and says, if you return.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Bad omen right at the start.
She says, I want you to understand what you are agreeing to. The last group I sent to explore the history of a relic, only 2 made it back, and I sent 5.
Oh.
So
Wait,
this
but-
is very dangerous.
The Plane of Shadow is not a safe place.
What sort of creatures are there? You said it's just memories, but is it ghosts or something?
It's a whole plane.
Ghosts, shadows, echoes of the past, all of these things are strange, vile denizens that live in those darkened worlds.
But we can't change the past.
It is only an echo of what was.
A vision.
But it would allow you to see it and learn from it and hear what happened. This lantern calls that forth. It disturbs that place to make those things manifest.
But in disturbing that place, it calls forth the other evils that protect those memories.
And the longer you stay, the more danger you will be in.
Well, then I feel as though we have no choice but to make sure we take care of each other as we have always done.
I have one question before we go in, and it's not quite pertinent, but that woman that brought us here,
Oh, Quellic, yes.
trying to put this delicately, what was she?
Oh, she's quite the gentle soul. She's a fetchling.
What is a fetchling?
There are some who are born of shadow, and it is a part of them. And for the fetchlings, it is a part of their very being.
Darkness.
They some view it that way. Others view it as that which is cast by light. They live between.
Perhaps that is why she said you were too bright.
Only Saren Ray is bright.
I beg to differ.
Well, I can perform this ritual now, in the morning, Whenever you are ready.
Are you all feeling?
I
I'm
don't
a little
know.
bit hungry, but I think I can fight on an empty stomach. It's fine.
Could do it now. Which is safer, night or day? Does it matter?
She looks at you. In the place that you are going, there is no night and no day.
I figured.
Well, considering we might be being followed, maybe the sooner the better.
Yes, might as well do it now, just in case.
She steps away from the desk and goes to the back wall. There she starts pulling at books, moving them aside. She takes a one out and puts it in a different spot, and then pulls at the entire cabinet, and it moves aside. And there behind it is a safe, and she produces a key and places it in. She reaches around and she's playing around with the edge of it, and then she slowly swings it open. Inside there's a lot of things that you don't really get a good look at, but she pulls out and produces a lantern. A black, old black lantern. And she kind of brings it over to the table and she says, please, gather around the large table. Take a seat. You will not be in those seats for long.
Might I suggest we all have our weapons drawn?
Yes, and hold them out. I'm going to give you some fire. Hold out your weapons.
Are we
Do you want to
physically
wait until
going?
I don't know
Do we want to wait until we get there?
if we get there together.
Oh,
She says, you will be both here and there. But as you travel, you will go more and more there. It's hard for me to describe. The plane of shadow is both over our world, but apart from it. So you will leave this place to go to there. And for me, you will mostly fade from existence. It is only through the lantern that I shall be able to perceive you. When you are ready to depart, when you want to come back, when you feel like you have learned all that you can learn, you need to only tell me so. And I shall end the ritual and bring you back. I will be able to monitor you.
All right.
reach into my bag and grab my stone and kiss it really fast and stick it back in. Okay.
Fire now or
I have a
fire
question.
later?
Maybe
Fine
later.
now.
Zonkuthon.
Oh, well,
It doesn't make
Zonkuthon
sense.
controls this plane of shadows.
His home dwells within it.
We do not want to fight a god, not today.
Nope. Not yet.
I will not be bringing any of you back if Zonkuthon makes his appearance known. And understand that when you call for me to bring you back, it is not immediate. It takes a few moments.
Okay.
If you are in the middle of a struggle, I will not be able to save you from it immediately.
so don't do it at the last possible second.
Yeah.
She places the dagger upon the table as you all gather around it, and then she goes to retrieve the lantern. She takes it and brings it over to the table. You can see it's an old lantern, battered wood, old blackened metal, and she takes it and lights the single wick inside, and it begins to flare with kind of a silvery light. As she raises it up and brings it into the table, its light begins to cast over the dagger, and as she does, she speaks words in a language that none of you quite understand, but as she does, runes flare up along the surface of the lantern as she takes it and places it on the table. As this occurs, it's almost as if the chimneys in the fireplaces nearby have become clogged because smoke begins to fill the room. At first thin wisps and then billowing clouds. But you soon realize it's not smoke. It's just shadow and darkness billowing in like a cloud. You look at each other, and as this begins to fill the space around you like a black fog, you notice that in each other, the color begins to fade. The rosy cheeks, the colorful outfits, anything that you have on you that has color slowly fades until it is almost grays. You can still make out the tones, but just barely. As this occurs, the dagger begins to shine brightly, but from its edges, it seems to almost be leaking gray shadow and smoke. And that link of chain fades to midnight black on the end of the dagger, and it sits on the table before you. You hear the Lord of Raven's voice echoing far in the distance. And she says, "One of you must take the dagger. Focus on it. You will travel to its past."
Are you ready?
We are with you.
I've been ready my whole life.
Fire now?
How long does
know.
it last?
1 minute?
Just 1 minute.
Okay,
Can't hurt.
we'll get a d6 of fire damage. Is the fire grey as well?
It has flame to it, but it is pale. The light that it radiates dies after like a foot. It doesn't light anything in this place. It's there, but it's barely visible.
So I just,
Do you pick up the dagger?
yeah, I mean,
Right.
and then,
I'm gonna put
You-
my hand on his shoulder.
yeah.
You grasp the dagger and it's cold. It's far too cold. There's no way the dagger could be this cold. And as you hold it, the world around you begins to distort. The clouds boil and broil around you. They form. At one moment, they turn into trees and mountains, and some of those erode up, and some of them fade back down. It's as if centuries are passing. The world is changing around you. The place that you are in is no longer the basement underneath the rookery. You are now standing out in the middle of a field, a plain, and the mountains build themselves up higher because the years have undone their wind and rain on them. They grow to mightier peaks, and you find yourself standing on a field in the middle of a open plain. Far in the distance, you see riders, horsemen, riding across the open and empty plains. And they gallop back and forth on the hunt, apparently, using kind of what look to be like kind of crude bows to hunt from horseback. You're not sure where this place is or what any of this means, but as you are standing here, through the sky, a bolt of light, an arc, fills the sky with brightness. Even in this darkened shadow place, you see this brightened streak as if a star is falling from the heavens. And it surges overhead, tiny pieces of it falling down on the ground around you, and you see some of them slam into the mountains and explode. And as it travels overhead, you see the horse lords look up in fear and terror. It passes by, and for a moment there is nothing but silence. And then there is a tremendous boom, as if the world itself had come undone. This entire place turns into a tumult. Everything goes into shadow and dark. When it fades, the clouds above, the sky above, even in this darkened place, have now turned even darker, as if the stars themselves, which you could see glittering in the shadows, those are now gone. The sky above is black. There is ash falling from the sky, and all of you are just standing in this, watching. You see the horse lords wandering about this place, looking at the sky. You see the plants around them withering and dying. They don't have light. It is the end of the world. 3 of them ride forward to where you are standing. They don't seem to pay attention to you. It's as if you are not there. And they ride up to you and kind of ride past you. Their features are kind of indistinct. And you turn around as they ride up toward a crevice, a tear in the earth, a rent, a hole, and from it is pouring blackness. And the riders make their way up to it. And they get off their horses, who now look malnourished. They have nothing to eat either. And they approach this dark crevice, and they fall down to their knees, all 3 of them, And you can't make out anything about them. But you can tell they are proud, noble horse masters. And they make their way up to this crevice, and they pray to it. Springing forth from that crevice is a length of chain that binds them, twists about them, and ties them up, their flesh rent and torn from it. And you hear only the word, "Serve me and live." And the voice is cold, distant. It hurts just to hear it speak words. And they say yes. The chain links fall from them into a pile around them. As they get up, they begin to pick up the pieces holding these chain links in their hand. They have now taken on a black aspect. It is now washed through them. You cannot make out any of their details as they hold these links of chain in their hand. The deal has been struck. As they fade away, as all of this kind of fades back into shadow, you see them holding these black links of chain. This fades into shadow, and everything fades away except for their 3 forms standing there. And as they fade away, all that's left are these creepy, distorted pieces of shadow that surge forward at you. At that, I need you to roll initiative. These blackened shadow forms are now coming for you.
Oh, thanks.
Can I get everyone to roll initiative, please?
Okay.
Well,
Wow. Oh, we don't have hero points.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. Everybody gets 1 hero point for this particular adventure.
Thank you.
All right. I have rolled my initiative. I will go around the group. Linnaeus, what do you have?
20.
20. Tariel, what do you have?
17.
17. Liz, what do you have?
19.
19. Iculus, what do you have?
21.
21. Look at you surging to the front of the pack for once. Omelet.
24.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, that's what we need.
Okay. Unfortunately, the shadowy forms go first. They surge forward at you, and I'm going to say that you activated the Everflame. You did that, and like almost all of it is gone. You've now only got a few rounds left because that whole scene played out, and by the time it was done, now you have a few rounds of it here, but after that, it's going to be gone.
I'd like to yell a battle cry.
Okay. So as you roll initiative, you shout at one of them to you shout and rage at one of them. Can you make me an intimidate check?
Mm-hmm. Looks like there's some evil out there.
Any evil in there?
Yeah. That's going to be a 30.
30. Okay.
Oh, wait. No, that's a 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is an incredibly good roll. The shadows, well, the one that you shouted at, looks kind of stutters as it sees you do that, and then charges right at you. The other ones charge at one goes for Omelet and one goes for Tariel. So they just picked at random and went running forward. The first one, they need to take a move action to get to you. Mm-hmm. They were about 30 feet away, but now they're right up on top of you. So the first one is going to move his way up to Iculus, and he's going to attempt to hit you with his shadowy hand. This is going to be an armor class 26.
Does not hit.
Does not hit. All right. And then with its third and final action, and this one is also kind of spooked by you. You spooked the darkness. He's going to try to hit you again and doesn't come anywhere close. The next one is going to fly up to Omelet Natural 20.
Oh no.
Take 26 points of damage as its shadowy hand.
Liberating step.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So take.
It's 8.
No, I believe it's 9 less now.
Yeah.
You got another level.
Fancy.
Look at you.
I should also note that I think upon reaching 7th level, your lay on hands now heals 24
Oh,
instead of 18. Just so you know.
fantastic.
Yeah. The shadow reaches out. You call out to protect your friend.
Ching ching.
Yeah. You take 9 less points of damage. Instead of, what was that,
26 more.
26, you take 9 less, so 17. And with its third and final action, it hit you, and its hand kind of passed right into you. And when it pulls away, it's tugging at your shadow. Like it's trying to pull your shadow away from you.
That don't belong to you.
You are now enfeebled. Let's see. 1. You are enfeebled 1.
What does that mean?
Enfeebled 1 means that you are going to take a penalty of 1 on all attack rolls that are strength attack rolls and other strength-based rolls. So damage rolls and athletics checks. All of that is now going to take a penalty of 1.
Stop taking what I love.
Don't take my favorite ability score. Yeah, that's what it does.
-1.
And then finally, Tariel moves up to you, tries to hit you. This die today
Not again.
is on fire.
No. No.
Another 20.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god. There are other numbers on the die.
I'm not-
Roll them
You
all
have
the time.
19 other numbers to choose from.
take 22 points of damage,
I mean, I guess if I have to.
and then with its final action, it pulls at your shadow as well. You are now enfeebled 1.
And that's strength stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright. Is that okay?
All right.
Oh wait, don't they take fire damage for hitting them?
No, not anymore.
Oh.
The Everflame no longer gives that ability.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I'm only level 7.
Oh man.
So I should also note, Linnaeus, when you drew the Everflame,
Yes.
you felt something. The blade, when you drew it from the scabbard, there was a momentary like surge of electricity. You'd like felt a bond to this weapon, and you haven't quite understood why the Everflame kind of lost some of its power, but it seems like it's getting some of it back. You don't fully understand it, but it has regained an ability, and the moment you draw it, you get this sense that whatever you picture it to be, that is what weapon it will be.
A scimitar. It's Saren Ray's weapon. It would be a scimitar.
You draw the blade, and it transforms into a scimitar.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so just so you know, I forgot to mention that when you drew it. So that is the shadows. Omelet, it is your turn.
All right. I don't feel very well. But I'm also very uncomfortable about being. Oh. Right. I don't know how this is gonna go. Tap the rock with the hilt.
So, as you do that,
Yeah.
in this place,
Yeah.
everyone sees the shadows of dwarves suddenly draw up and surround Omelet.
They don't swirl me this time.
No,
They've got my back.
they reach out and put their hand on your shoulder.
We can see your family. Wow. I don't look back. I don't know how many there are, but I feel a lot of hands and I'm quite motivated.
All right?
Okay.
Oh, I got shivers.
Chills.
And they're only there for a brief moment, and then they just kind of fade away. But as she does that, they all reach forward and put their hands like on her shoulder and back. And
I I just sort of feel them guiding my muscles and tension in the correct way to aim.
Wow.
Oh,
This one, I knew it. Every time. They hit a sore spot on my back.
You're enfeebled.
Quite enfeebled.
Ugh.
I do. That's an 18, so that's nothing.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid that's not going to hit. You've gone into a rage and you swing wildly at the first one that's in front of you, but it does not hit.
This is true.
You still have one action left.
Yeah. Can I ask you about something?
Yes.
My spirit rage.
Yep.
So, I can choose the negative or positive damage,
Yep.
but this has never come in handy before. So my weapon gains the effect of ghost touch.
Oh, well, that's useful to know.
Yes.
Because these things don't look fully here.
Yeah. Oh. It's more effective against incorporeal creatures.
Now,
And
do you want to
gains-
deal positive damage or negative damage? You're not sure if these things are undead or not, but
I mean,
they don't seem alive.
they don't look good. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, you haven't hit yet, but
I haven't hit yet.
But pick one.
Go with positive
All right.
because they're evil.
Sure.
And
You
maybe
can try
I
that.
can cleanse their souls.
All right.
Also, I gain divine and necromancy traits, just so you know.
oh, divine
Oh,
tree.
I'll keep a note on that.
Okay.
All right. So.
And I'm going to swing again.
all right, go right ahead.
My last go of it. Still shite. No, not going to hit.
All right, you swing wildly at this shadowy creature that has come upon you. It's clear that your ancestors appearing in a way that you're not used to has unsettled you. It just wasn't what was expected.
They guide
Ridiculous.
me differently.
I'm
It is your turn.
gonna smite evil against the one that's.
Oh, it might be evil. Yeah, sure.
I'd say so.
Horrible shadow monster?
Yeah.
I guess.
Possibly.
I'm just going to let you know you can go ahead and add that extra damage. You don't have to keep it to me separate. Go ahead.
Okay.
So this is your second action.
That's going to be a 27.
27 is definitely a hit.
All right, so I'm gonna roll 2d12.
All right, yeah, it is a striking weapon now, so
Yeah. So it's going to be a 12 on the dice. And we've got +6. So 18.
yeah. And Smite Evil.
And Smite Evil.
So another 4.
No, so
right?
it's going to be a 22.
22 points of damage. All right, so some of that passes right through it because it's not fully there. But that does look like it hurt it. Some of the shadow kind of rips away from it as you hit it. All right. And you still
Is
have...
this where we can add the plus d6 fire damage?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did hit. Go ahead and give me a d6 fire damage as well.
I set your sword on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget your d6s.
Yeah.
It's going to add 5 to that.
Another 5. All right. Yeah.
Let me just put
I
a
am,
d6 right here so we can remember.
Yeah.
Fire.
I am not immune to the fire damage.
Okay.
All right. And you still have your third action.
Oh, yeah.
Swing again.
Swing it again.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Where we at?
Go ahead.
9 plus 16 minus 5. What's that? 25. 20.
Hit.
Ooh.
Dead on.
Oh.
Love it. I love all this new stuff.
I don't. All right. So 2d12 and a d6 plus what? 10?
That's 19.
19 damage. Yep. All right. So it's going to take a little less of that, but it is still up. It looks greatly diminished after you hit it those 2 times. The flame and the lights passing through it really looks like it took a lot out of it, but it is still there. That was Iculus. Linnaeus.
Perfect. I learned a new thing. Tell me the layout. Where are they?
The 5 of you are kind of in a group. There's not really, you're not really like in a line or anything. It's just you were kind of arranged around the table, and you didn't really move after that. You just kind of sat there watching the show. So you were all kind of around, just kind of in a rough group. I'm going to assume, since one attacked Toriel, that Toriel was on the leading edge toward them, as was Iculus and Omelette. So they're there, and then all 3 of them are up right next to your friends.
So there.
Yeah.
Is there a way that I can hit these 3 without hitting my friends?
You could hit 2 of them, but there's
Okay.
no way you could hit all 3 of them without including at least a few of the fellow party members.
Okay, then I'll hit 2 of them, and I need them both to make a fortitude save.
What are you hitting me with?
Divine Wrath.
Divine Wrath. Ooh. Okay. So this is going to do, I'm assuming you're picking good?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so the entire party is good. I
good.
guess you can just throw it ground 0, and
yes.
it doesn't affect any of you.
Oh, yes, we will.
That's nice.
We'll do that.
Okay. So I need to make 3, what is it, will saves?
Fortitude.
Fortitude saves, all right.
Just happy little group.
Yeah. All so good.
Good try.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, so what's your DC?
23.
23. All right. 2 of them are going to succeed and 1's going to fail.
Okay, well, that's 29 good damage. If they succeed, they take half. If they fail, the creature takes full damage and is sickened 1.
Oh, wow.
Don't touch my friends.
All right.
That was amazing.
The shadow in front of Iculus, when this blast of kind of, it's like ghostly holy flame kind of radiates out throughout the area, and it washes over all of you but does not burn you. But the shadows recoil from it. The one in front of Iculus is utterly blasted away. It vanishes into nothingness. The other 2 look like they were hurt by it, but they are still up and fighting. You still have 1 action left.
I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to stay where I am. Can I
Draw your,
be alert?
you have like a weapon out, right?
Yes, I have
Yeah, yeah.
my Everflame, my sword.
All right.
A shield.
Shield.
Why not?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. That was Linnaeus. Liz.
Yes, I am going to mark the one attacking Tariel as my prey,
Okay.
and then I am going to take a hunted shot at it.
Okay.
That is going to be 29.
29. 29 is a clean hit, yeah.
Cool.
Not quite a crit.
Nope. Ooh. That's crap, but ooh. 9 plus
Don't forget your fire.
6 is, I broke it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I got it.
Sure.
9, 6, that's 15, 16, 17, 18 damage.
18? Mm-hmm. All right. Your arrow kind of passes right through it, but it looks diminished by that. Which one were you firing at?
The one in the attacking Tariel.
Okay. Yeah, the arrow passes right through it, but it does look like some of the shadow went with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again.
All right.
Same roll. Wow. That is going to be a 24.
24? Mm-hmm. Okay. That is also going to hit.
Holy crap. That is going to be 11, 12, 13, 14.
14.
And then one last shot.
Okay.
That's not as good. That is going to only be a 17.
That's not going to be enough. The third arrow fails to find its mark. It's kind of hard to make out what's shadow and what's just terrain here. But the arrows go soaring through it, and it looks pretty badly hurt by that. Tariel.
I'm going to play my little violin to inspire some courage, which should like kind of negate the -1 to your strength stuff, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to attack the one in front of me with my rapier.
All right.
For a 30 to hit.
crit.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does the fire and the bleed damage stack?
They do both stack. It will take both of them. The bleed doesn't happen right now. The bleed happens on my turn.
Oh, yes.
So you don't have to worry about that. The fire damage will be doubled on a crit. So you can roll that and add it up with the regular damage dice from the, yeah. Remember, you do get a deadly die because this is a rapier, but that does not get doubled. That's after the doubling. That's the only thing that is. So, yeah. Don't double the D8. Add all the rest together. Go ahead.
So many cool toys.
Okay. So fire and could have been better. Fire and rapier damage is maths 8 doubled 16
Okay.
plus 7
All right. 23.
23.
All right.
Yes.
23 points of damage. Your rapier flashes out at this thing, slices right through it, like right through the middle of it. And as you do so, it's like wiping away a cloud. It just vanishes. It's gone.
Nicely done.
That one's destroyed.
Am I close enough to attack the one on Omelet?
No, the most you could do is move up to it. I mean, you can move up and provide a flank.
Yeah, I'll move up and provide a flank.
Okay. You do so. Top of the order, the shadow goes, and there's only one left now, so it is going to go, and it's going to reach out and attempt to attack Omelet. That is not going to be nearly enough, so that's not going to hit. With its second action, this die.
No.
Today.
Another one?
Today is the day. Today is the day.
Not the day.
No.
Shadow crits left and right. Yeah, it was a 20.
Look at that.
No, no, no. No thanks. Thanks, but no.
That is going to be 16 points of damage.
Okay.
And with its third action, it pulls at your shadow even harder. You are now enfeebled 2.
Liberating step.
Yeah, so that'll reduce the damage by 9. But you are still enfeebled 2.
That's what I'm worried about.
I can help. I can fix it.
Can you?
Yes, well, sort of. Kind of. A little bit.
All right.
Ready.
So, that was the Shadow's turn. Omelet.
Swinging. Swinging right at it.
All right.
Let go of the shadow.
Go ahead and
That
roll.
belongs to me.
It is tugging it away from you.
Are you freaking kidding me?
No.
That's another one. And I don't have any rerolls.
Keep trying.
This plane of shadow, it's not the home for the Knights of Everflame, that much is sure.
No, I'm used to my family moving my arms for me, not just patting me on the back. I'm
Want to try a new one?
gonna try this.
Try your
this
tiny
little
one.
fella. So 10 and then minus 5, so that... No! Wait! 21. It's a hit.
Hit.
Thank goodness.
You can do this, Omelet.
It's a bit embarrassing for my family now. Totally choking. 10, 11, 12. 22 points of damage.
22 points of damage, and all of that goes through. Your axe strikes it almost as if it was solid.
Oh.
Whoa.
But it's still there. Just barely.
Third strike. You're all dead to me. Literally, you're all dead to me, family.
I think they are literally all dead to you.
They're literally
All right,
all dead.
They're all
so,
like,
Iculus.
Don't worry, Omelet. Sheldon will handle this for us.
You spend one action to move over.
Yes.
Yeah, and then attack.
Smite Evil, still on?
No, you'd have to turn it on for this one. It's only
Okay.
against an individual target.
Okay. So, yeah. That's going to be 11, so 27.
Hit.
Okay. I still have the D6? flaming sword.
Yeah, the flames are starting to flicker and dim.
It's going to be a 11 plus 6, 17.
17.
Did you add?
Oh, 18.
Or that.
It's fine. It had 3 hit points left.
He's done.
Your blade flashes out, slices through the shadow, and just like the others, it fades away, leaving you alone in this dark place.
Restoration.
What the heck was that?
Restoration.
Hands, or you have her.
I have restoration.
What does that do?
Your enfeebled is gone.
Completely or both?
I can take 2 points away from one condition. And another new fun thing that I took is assurance medicine, so I automatically succeed at healing you, so you're just going to take immediately 17 points of healing back.
That's nice.
Nice.
So that allows you to pick the higher DC to go
Yes.
for the DC 20 and automatically have a 23, so you don't even have to roll. You just give back 2d8 plus 10. But once used on you, it can't be used on you again for an hour.
Okay.
So at least right at the moment, that's all you're going to be able to get out of that.
Yes.
So you are all standing there, and you are still holding the dagger. And if you grip it and focus on it, you hear the Lord of Raven's voice again. She says, "That was Earthfall. That was thousands of years ago.
Thousands.
That is when the world turned to darkness." And her voice almost sounds like an echo from down a long hallway.
How do we see the next vision?
She says, "Those 3 were the horse lords who bound themselves to Zan-Kuthan to save their people. I don't know what this means."
Is this in Nidal?
She says, "I cannot see what you see. I can only sense it. But perhaps, if it was them, then yes. Focus on the dagger. It will take you further."
Iculus looks in, sees the chains hanging, looks at the dagger. Where shall we go now?
You focus on the blade, and the world around you begins to shift and kind of broil again. The shadows move and kind of writhe and are kind of sliding about.
That is making me nauseous.
And suddenly you find yourself in a citadel. The shadows kind of immediately rise up and form columns and an arched vault, and you see shadowy windows with odd like chain images in the light that are in like the stained glass. And in the center of this room there is an anvil and a forge, but it's odd. It looks like you are in some sort of church or temple. And there in the center, there is a man. You can't make up much about the features. Everything here is kind of hazy and indistinct. But as he is there, he goes over to the forge and reaching in with his bare hand, he cries out as he pulls a blade from it and brings it over to the anvil, setting it down, his hand smoking with shadow. He reaches down into a case, a velvet-lined case, and he brings out a link of black chain, and he attaches it, he forges it to the end of this dagger, and he's touching it, the hot dagger, with his bare hand as he finishes linking this chain to it. And when he is done, he picks it up now with both hands, and you can see his hands and arms distinct, but they are clearly scarred and raw and ruined. And he takes this blade over to a table nearby where there are dozens of them laid out, each with this link of chain at the end of it.
What kind of temple?
looking around, you try and get a sense of the room that you're in, and it becomes apparent. You see on the far side there is there's a stained glass window, and in it, the top of it is a skull, and it has chains coming out of its eyes. This is a temple to Zon-Kuthon.
There are dozens of them.
So many.
All
They
those
would be
daggers.
all over the world if there are this many of them.
And as you are standing there, you realize that the one he put down is the one that you're holding in your hand.
This is the same dagger.
This is where it was
Forged.
forged. Not born, but realized.
So you are standing there, and there's just a table covered in these daggers. They're shadowy and indistinct, but they're there.
Do we recognize any of the ones from the paintings we saw?
It's hard to say. First of all, you don't have them in very good detail. Undoubtedly, I mean, if these are these sacred relics, some of these are those. You know, which one's which, you're not sure. But Iculus, give me a perception check.
$24.
Looking at the table, yeah, I mean, there's dozens of these daggers here, and you know, they all look wicked and evil. But there is one of them that immediately draws your eye because it's a dagger you see in your nightmares, and it's the dagger that plunged through your father's heart, and it is sitting on that table in its shadowy, indistinct form.
Knights. I see the dagger that killed my father.
On the table.
It's the 5th one in. That's it.
I'm going to take a very long, good look at that dagger and then print it on my memory as best I can.
All right.
It's been imprinted in my memory for almost 2 decades.
It is good to have another set of eyes who will not forget it.
I must retrieve that dagger.
You hear the Lord of Ravens calling out from the echoes, from the shadows. You can hear her, and she says, "They are connected. They are all forged of one chain."
The chain that fell, the chain that first bound the horse lords. I would bet my life on the fact that that chain was unlinked and then put on these daggers.
They do look like the same links.
And it's linked to the one I'm holding.
It's linked to all of them.
It's linked to him.
The Lord of Ravens, her voice echoes. If you reach out to those daggers, you can follow them.
Do you want to? There is something that you will probably not want to see again.
You hear
But
her say, if you follow them, you may be able to learn where they are.
And we have a duty now that we know what these daggers are capable of doing to figure out how to break their power.
I cannot let this opportunity go by.
Just close your eyes. We'll tell you when it's safe to look.
We should look for the next memory. We have the information we need for your mission, but we need to know what else is pertinent about this dagger. If there are, we might be able to see the person who now holds it.
Iculus reaches out. Shellen, show me the way. Guide us. Protect us. Don't let us get sucked into whatever it is down here that's corrupting all these. Help me find my father again.
You reach out and touch the dagger. The world around you surges, fades away. The pillars and the room that you're in, all of it just falls to smoke as if it was held for a moment, and then that hold releases and the smoke just falls into plumes. clouds broil around you, and suddenly you are in a different chamber. You don't know where this is, but it feels similar in make, but it's not the same place. It has similar walls, and there are chains hanging from places. And there is a darkened figure producing it holds forth a pillow. And on this pillow are like 6 of these daggers. Kneeling before it is Lucky. You hear a shadowed voice that cries out, or that speaks out from this humanoid form, but you can see chains draped from it. You are our trusted spy. Go, harvest some souls for us. Bring the souls of the artists. Bring them to us. Take these. And he goes, I live to serve. And he bows his head. All praise the Lord of Midnight. And Lucky stands up, collecting the daggers, dropping them into sheaths. He bows and leaves the room. The world fades away to shadow again.
It was him.
He had 6 of them. There are other victims attached to other daggers.
Well, we saw the paintings.
There are, and for a moment you see brief flashes of Lucky killing, stabbing writers, poets, bards, murdering.
I have a question. Does he use a different dagger every time?
Yes.
Only 1 soul for each dagger.
And suddenly you find yourself in Absalom, in a crowded plaza. There, up on the stage, Iculus is your father, and he is giving a sermon praising the glory of Shellen. And you find that you yourself are standing not 5 feet away from your mother and a young you, watching up. Your mother holding you by her side, your sister in her arm, looking up, smiles in their shadowy faces.
Iculus. Look at us. Okay.
Your father. Praise be to the God of art. Let us all raise our voices in song.
Iculus.
As he leads the assembled crowd in a hymn.
Going to grab Iculus's hand. Please. Look at us.
You don't have to watch this again.
We are here.
Can't look away.
His voice rising up, praising the God of beauty. You can see him as he's singing, and as he allows the crowd to sing the hymn back to him, giving him a pause, he looks down at his wife and his young son, and he smiles warmly, nods. He looks shockingly like Iculus. The resemblance is uncanny. And he looks back out at the crowd, and it is then that the shadowy form appears behind him. Rising up out of the darkness, the form comes up, slides up to him like an eel, like a snake, rising up out of the background, the dagger in his hand. He reaches forward, grabs his shoulder, and plunges the dagger right through him. You can see the shadow of Iculus's father pushed out of his body. His body goes rigid. His hand rises, and as this happens, a second version of him pulls out, writhing, almost like it was displaced. And it swirls about, pulled, caught in an eddy that it can't escape. It cries and is reaching, grabbing at itself, but finds no purchase as it is pulled into the link of chain, siphoned, pulled in to the dagger, crying out, screaming, reaching up towards a heaven that is being denied.
We have to find that dagger.
That's the only way he's gonna go back to her.
We have to break the chain.
The assembled crowd collapses into shadow and darkness. The body of your father slumps down to the ground, as it did all those years ago, and slowly fades away into darkness and shadow. But not everything does. The shadow of Lucky pulls forth as he fades away. Ripping out of it is this long ribbon of darkness and shadow that forms up into a thing. Like the others, but this one grows in height and stature, unfolding like a nightmare come to life. It's like the others, but it's titanic, it's gigantic. I need you to roll initiative.
Battle cry.
Howling in rage.
16.
Not enough. Omelet, what do you have?
36.
Iculus, what do you have?
16.
16.
Yeah.
There we go. Back to the Iculus initiative we all love. Menace.
Oh.
24.
Tariel.
Also 24.
Which one of you wants to go first?
Do you want to go?
Sure, I can go first.
Liz.
29.
Omelet, you are first to act. This thing has drawn itself up. It's about 30 feet away. Up on this, where there was a stage, there isn't anymore.
Thank you.
And it is like the others. It's a little bigger, more imposing. It's more kind of spindly and clawed.
I rage again,
Okay?
and knowing my friend might need a moment, the hands push me forward and move towards, close the distance between me and this foul beast,
All right.
and swing.
All right. Go right ahead.
$35.
Crit.
Redemption.
So, your axe slams into it, the new axe.
Yeah.
Something happens. You're really unsure what just happened, but it thrums. The moment you strike vitally at this thing, the whole thing shakes, and you hear almost in the back of your head a kind of silky murmur that goes, ah. What happens here is that instead of dealing double damage, the axe has a special effect. And what happens is that instead of getting double damage, you're going to draw a card from this deck. This is the critical hit effect deck. And you're going to get whatever the effect is instead of double damage. So I'm just going to leave this. I'm just going to leave this deck over near you. And there are 4 entries on here. One is for bludgeoning, one's for piercing, one's for slashing, and one's for magic. You only have to worry about the one that's for slashing. Which is the little axe head. So should be pretty easy to find. Yeah, it's the 3rd one down on every card.
Okay.
So I'm going to hand these to you. cut the deck and draw the first one off the top, and then if you could read it. Now, there's going to be situations where these don't really apply, where it's like, oh, that doesn't seem to make sense at all for what just happened. In which case, the default is back down to double damage. But
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
Okay.
But oftentimes it'll make sense. So go ahead and draw the first card and read off whatever the slashing effect is.
This is so cool.
Oh.
What's it say?
It says normal damage. The target is so humiliated, it can do nothing but attack you.
It can't run. It can't attack anyone else. You run up and slam the axe into this thing before it can barely even move. And, just ram right into it. It looked like it was going straight for Iculus, who looks kind of stunned and out of it right now. But after hitting it that hard, it suddenly turns all of its attention on you. So go ahead and deal damage.
Okay.
What's the title of that one?
At the end of its turns.
Oh, it has to keep doing that.
Keep doing it. It is
Right.
permanently fixated because I've humiliated it.
What's the name on that critical effect?
Carve your initials.
You run up and slam your axe into
I
it.
draw an egg into its face.
Nice.
Ooh. 34.
Oh, God. Had that been doubled, that would have been brutal. All right. Okay. So you go up and humiliate the thing, and it suddenly takes all of its attention to you. So you raged, you moved, and you attacked, right?
Yeah.
Right? So you're good.
Just want to give effect to that. Stay away from my friend.
Liz, it is your turn.
I am going to superimpose myself between the monster and Iculus.
Okay.
Gonna let our friend have a moment here.
Thank you.
And I'm going to mark that shadow as my prey.
Absolutely.
So move, mark, hunted shot. Ooh. That is going to be a 30.
30. 30 is definitely a hit.
Yee. 17 damage for that first one. And then I'm going to do it again. Not as good. That is only a 19.
19 is not going to be enough to hit. Your first arrow went through it. It did some damage, but this thing looks like it's really kind of partially phased out of existence, so it's hard to hit.
No problem.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Move, hunt,
And I
yeah.
just-
All right, yep. All right, it goes. Turning its attention to Omelette, it reaches forward and tries to pull, or tries to hit you. Oh, no.
No.
It's not a 20, but it might be a crit anyway. 36.
Oh no.
I won't. Because I'm raging.
And she is now too far away for a liberating step.
Curses. Why you gotta be so brave?
Take 30
Okay.
as its hand reaches through you and you feel your flesh just wither. And with its second action, it tugs at your shadow like the others, but this one has a much stronger grip. You are enfeebled. Oh, you are enfeebled 3.
Oh, wow.
Is there a limit?
There is now, because it just pulled your shadow from your body.
What?
What?
It pulls your shadow away from you. There is now a shadow of Omelette, and it just kind of tosses it aside, and that shadow falls to the ground and starts moving.
No.
Why is it always me that gets cloned?
With it does keep happening.
Evil clones of Omelette are a no. No, thank you.
And with its third and final action, it's going to attack you again, but that's going to miss. All right, so, and then at the end of its round, it gets to make a will save to end the effect where it is taunted from you. Now that it has pulled your shadow away, that's a 29. Yeah, that's going to be enough. So it
I'm okay.
Now having pulled your shadow away, it is free to move on to others. Tariel, it is your turn.
Well, first things first, we're gonna inspire some courage.
All right.
And then
I like how it gets frantic.
In my ears, lady.
and then I am going to haste. Do you have anything that can help?
I mean, yeah.
Haste Lene.
So remember, when you haste a spellcaster, that's only going to give them a move
Or an attack.
or an attack.
Attack.
That's fine. You haste Linnaeus. Okay, that is the end of Toriel's turn.
You can move. That's good. That's good.
Linnaeus, it is now your turn.
2 questions.
Yes.
How far away am I from Omelette?
About 30 feet.
30 feet? Okay, perfect. Second question. Would I know...
But it's like 35 feet away.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Would I know if healing magic would hurt this thing?
You're not quite sure if it's undead. You could attempt a knowledge religion to
Yes.
learn about whether or not it is undead.
Well, yes. Yes, I'm going to. Yes. I mean, it's a 20.
A 20 is enough to at least understand that shadows are a form of undead.
Oh, excellent.
They are ripped and pulled from people, so yes.
Good.
You still have 3 actions left, one of which must be a move or a strike.
Oh, okay. Then I'm going to move forward with 1.
Okay?
And with my last 2, I'm going to cast Forbidding Ward on Iculus.
On Iculus. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Get a +1 to AC and saving throws against the enemy.
Ooh, yeah.
The big one.
All right. Iculus, it is the start of your turn. After the traumatic scene you have just witnessed,
Iculus stands up, shakes it off, looks at this creature, and smites evil.
okay?
And how far am I from?
You could get up to it with 1 action.
Okay.
Yeah?
So I smite evil and then move.
Yeah?
And I'm going hard on the swing. Oof. It's going to be a 21. Oh, 22.
Not enough. As you run up and swing at it, you can't help but remember the voice in the back of your head echoing with Lucky's voice. Really? Is that all you got? Omelet, it's your turn.
Do this.
Oh boy.
The shadowy version of you is stood up right next to you. You can either attack that, or you can attack the
No.
larger shadow.
I want to attack the big fella still.
All right, go ahead.
And as I'm doing it, I'm just going, do you mind getting back inside my body?
It's just kind of doing this weird, like,
That's not how I dance. Definitely not with Feebled. Definitely not.
that was the first action.
Yep. Striking again.
Okay.
Nat 20.
Yay!
Critical hit. Draw from the deck.
Oh!
Oh boy.
Looks like someone's getting enfeebled too. How does it feel?
What?
It says crit effect. The target is enfeebled too until it is healed.
All right, fair enough. What's the name of it?
Muscle wound.
So your axe slams into it, like caving off entire bits of its shadow, and it just kind of crumples a bit. So go ahead and deal damage as normal.
31.
31. All right, your axe slams into it. It looks greatly diminished by that attack, and you still have 1 action left.
Oh, I do. Oh, I do.
That voice returned when you crit again, and it just went, yes.
We don't like that.
We'll address that later. Why is everything I hit lately sighing in pleasure?
I don't like it.
This was the axe. This wasn't the shadow.
Well, I know the shadow's not doing it. The dark workers were, and now my axe is doing it.
What would you like to do next?
Hitting again.
Okay.
What else am I gonna do? I'm surrounded. 20 again!
Well, let's do the math and make sure it's a hit.
Okay.
So what's your attack bonus?
Plus 16.
So minus 10 is only a plus 6, so 20 plus 6 is a 26. That is a hit, so that is a crit. Go ahead and draw from the deck again.
Wreck him.
Wreck him!
This one's called Bad Parry. Crit effect. The target must succeed on a reflex save or drop one weapon it is holding.
That has no applicable effect because it doesn't have weapons, so
Right.
go ahead and deal
Hand.
double damage.
Double damage. 13? 26 damage.
Times 2.
27 damage.
Times 2 is 54. As the shadow of Lucky, whatever it is, you hear that kind of, is that all you got? And then the axe just slices through it and it just collapses.
Ridiculous told you to shut up.
Nicholas just falls to his knees.
There is still a shadow in there.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
It doesn't suck back into me.
No.
No.
Liz.
Someone get me a straw.
I guess I will move my hunt prey over to the shadow.
Uh-huh. And to be clear, unlike when there was the mirror omelet, this one doesn't look like omelet anymore. This one is some weird distorted shadow thing.
It's okay. I don't think this thing is a part of you anymore, but I am afraid to hurt you. I'm going to take just one shot. Not a hunted shot, just a shot.
Okay, go ahead.
And then whatever happens, I will decide after that. Wow, my dice know. I rolled a natural 1.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, that's not going to hit.
No.
You still have one action left. Shoot again.
Natural 2.
Oh, wow.
All right. Your arrows refuse to hit Omelet. Neither one of those are going to hit. It goes, and it reaches out to attack Omelet.
Oh dear. I tried.
It's going to miss with that. You notice that it looks kind of clumsy, like it kind of stumbles about as if it's not fully formed yet. Second attack is not going to be enough, and the third one is just as bad. So it's swiping at you, but it isn't managing to hit. Tariel, it is your turn.
Well, okay, well.
Continue performing. Yeah.
And I guess I'll. How far away is Omelet from me right now?
About 30 feet.
Then I'm going to cast Forbidding Ward
Okay. Gotcha.
on Omelet. So that'll give you +1 to your AC and saving throws against an enemy.
Linnaeus.
I want to use a spell, but it would hit the dark creature. I lock eyes with Omelet, and I go, ah.
Do it.
Okay, we're going to burst our healing font. Oh, that's not my pencil.
All right.
And, well, it's my pencil now.
I believe I get a saving throw for that.
Yes.
Why are you stupid?
So that, by the way, now goes up to 4d8 or 4d10, right? Because you now have 7th level.
I need another 10.
4th level spells.
This one treated you well last time.
Heal. That's a 1, isn't it? Okay. 12,
Two ones.
13. 13. You get 13. Heal.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I rolled a 1 on my saving throw, so I'm going to take double damage.
To take that damage.
But
Get
it
up.
is still there. You blasted away a lot of it, and now it's just kind of stumbling about, kind of pitifully.
But it didn't hurt Omelet.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay, good. Then I'm going to take another step closer to her.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, you are hasted.
Yes.
Iculus, bottom of the order.
I'm right on him.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or her, or whatever this thing is.
It.
It.
Yeah.
Smite Evil.
Okay. First action.
And that's going to be a 27.
Hit.
Right. Do I have anything?
Yeah.
It's really a 28, so.
Yeah, no fire anymore.
21.
21. Your blade slams into the shadow version of Omelette. And as you do so, it kind of falls flat, almost as if it just became a two-dimensional thing, and slithers across the ground to kind of stick itself back to your feet. And you have a shadow again.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that
That
seemed
was-
to have fixed that.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't sure if it was going to hurt you, and I got really flustered when I tried to shoot it.
Understandable.
How are
I
you
didn't
doing
want
on
to hurt
health?
you.
Is your health good?
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah?
I'm fine.
You sure though?
I mean, I'll take it if you're willing.
Okay, I'm going to just use one of my first level spell slots and give you a heal.
You also have your effect
yeah.
up if you want to use that.
Then yes, we're going to just do 2d8 plus 10.
That's
for you.
probably plenty.
Yes, yeah, that's better.
That new axe
Oh,
is
yeah,
amazing.
11. 31.
31. All right, I'm at full.
Oh.
No,
21.
it is 21. Sorry.
21.
Sorry, I kept adding the 10 too many times.
Well, I can give her the rest.
24.
Hang on, I may not need it.
Okay.
I don't need it.
Okay.
I'm at full.
The world around you slowly begins to fade. The shadows pull back down into the ground, broiling around you for a moment. You're still focusing on the dagger that killed your father. You have the other dagger in your hand, but it is your link to that blade. And thinking on it, the world begins to take shape again. You are back in this darkened cathedral. Out beyond you, there are doors flung wide, looking out into a kind of desolate plain. It's an odd scene, though. It looks like it's ringed, this area. It almost looks like a courtyard. But it's very big. And in the middle of that courtyard, there is this crack in the ground. It looks like the crack you saw in the very beginning, when those horse lords approached it and prayed for deliverance. Lucky walks through the assembled shadows and makes his way deeper into this wicked cathedral. He approaches an anvil where that same smith still stands. He walks up to them and produces the dagger that took your father's life. He offers it forward, a wicked grin on his face. The smith reaches out gently, gingerly, and takes the blade. He places it down on the anvil. He turns back to the furnace and draws forth a chain with his bare hands. This chain is made of links, and from each link hangs a dagger. Red hot, he draws it forth and pulls the dagger to it and opens up the end link. He takes that chain, that dagger, and attaches it to the end of the chain. Which, with each hammer strike as he closes the link, there's a wail that you can hear. There's a chorus of all the souls trapped in those daggers. Here, in this place of deepest darkness, all of those souls are forged into a chain. The smith speaks in a dry, raspy voice. Praise be to the Midnight Lord, forged in darkness and shadow, never to touch the light of the day. Lucky bows Praise to the Midnight Lord. And he withdraws. The smith takes the chain of daggers over to a well. A moonlit well of utter darkness. And he drops the chain into it. It hisses and sputters. The water boils as the heated chain falls into it. Moments pass, and he plunges his arms into the black stillness and draws forth the chain. He wears it around his neck. It cuts him in many places. The daggers are still razor sharp. And he takes it from that place up a set of stairs, deeper and deeper into the monastery. You follow him, even though your feet are not moving. The world changes around you, the scene shifting and changing. And soon you find yourself in what is best described as some sort of museum. There on pedestals are weapons, knives, hooks, chains on pedestals as if on display. And in the center of this place, he walks. There's a pedestal made of the blackest of obsidian, and he unwinds the chain from his neck and places it there. To the glory of Zan-Kuthon. And it all fades into darkness. The walls of this place, the wretched priest, leaving only that pedestal with the chain of daggers upon it. You can hear the Lord of Ravens suddenly call out to you from the distant darkness, far away from you in the shadow. She says, I know this place. This is Ridwan, holy city of Zan-Kuthon. That is the Shadow Flame Cathedral. That is where your father's soul is being kept. And that is where we will end today's adventure. I want to thank you all for watching and encourage you to tune in next week for another exciting session. If you want to learn more about this story, the characters, or the Pathfinder game, please visit knightsofeverflame.com. There you can find a synopsis of our previous episodes, stats for all of the characters, and some Knights of Everflame gear to deck you out for your next adventure. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Coming up on Knights of Everflame.
I cannot allow my father's soul to rot in some dark hell.
We go to Ridwan.
You've got Moxie. Ridwan is a fortress city. A baptism in pain is the only way.
A baptism in pain. Sounds appropriate for where we're going.
I actually have an ability without putting any of you at risk, but it would require me to go ahead alone.
There is a dark form perched atop the boulder, and just as you kind of spot it, it leaps down at you. Give me a survival skill check.
A survival.
Yeah, your rage immediately ends. You are exhausted. I'm just an impartial arbiter of rules.
Right.
It is my job to make sure that they are followed evenly and fairly.
Yes.
So much benevolence.
I mean, you're gonna die.